When a single photograph destroys the careful distance between power and desire, some mistakes don't just cost you your job. They cost you everything you thought you knew about survival. Scarlett Hayes never imagined one wrong tap on her phone would shatter the glass wall between her and the most dangerous man in New York. Victor DeLuca doesn't forgive mistakes. He collects them. And now, she's become his most interesting acquisition. This is a story about what happens when you accidentally show your truth to someone who's built an empire on lies. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. The photograph wasn't supposed to exist. Scarlett stared at her phone screen in the coffee-stained chaos of her studio apartment, watching the little checkmark turn blue beneath the image she'd just sent. Her stomach dropped like an elevator with cut cables. The photo, her in that red dress from her sister's bachelorette party, laughing with her head thrown back, genuinely happy for once, had just delivered itself to the last person on earth who should see it. Victor DeLuca, her boss. The man who'd fired 3 people last month for arriving 6 minutes late to a meeting. No. She jabbed at the delete button, but WhatsApp's cruel design mocked her. Delete for me or delete for everyone, except the latter only worked if he hadn't seen it yet. And knowing Victor, he'd probably already dissected every pixel. She'd meant to send it to her sister. Instead, her trembling fingers had selected the most recent conversation, which was always Victor, because she was his executive assistant, and his world didn't stop spinning just because the clock hit 7 p.m. Scarlett dropped onto her second-hand couch, phone clutched against her chest. Her heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat. 3 years. She'd worked for Victor DeLuca for 3 careful, controlled years, maintaining exactly the right distance. Professional, but not cold. Competent, but not threatening. Invisible in all the ways that mattered. That distance had just evaporated. Her phone buzzed. She actually yelped. Victor DeLuca. My office, 7 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. 6 words. No mention of the photo. Somehow, that made it worse. Scarlett spent the night rehearsing her resignation speech and updating her resume. The DeLuca Financial Building cut into the Manhattan skyline like a blade, all dark glass and sharp angles, exactly like the man who owned it. Scarlett's heels clicked against marble as she crossed the lobby at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes early, because being on time was being late in Victor's world. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending to her own execution. His assistant, his other assistant, the one who handled the legitimate business, looked up from her desk with something that might have been sympathy. He's waiting for you. Scarlett nodded, not trusting her voice. She'd worn her most severe suit, hair pulled back so tight it gave her a headache, minimal makeup. Armor. As if looking professional enough could somehow undo the fact that he'd seen her looking human. She knocked twice. Come in. Victor's office occupied the entire north corner of the building. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a view of the city that reminded everyone who entered exactly how high up they were, exactly how far they could fall. His desk sat in front of those windows, a massive piece of black walnut that had probably cost more than her annual salary. He didn't look up from the document he was reading. Close the door. She did, her hand shaking slightly on the handle. Sit. The chairs facing his desk were deliberately uncomfortable. Another power play. Scarlett sat anyway, folding her hands in her lap to keep them still. She'd prepared a speech, apologetic but dignified. She opened her mouth to deliver it. Victor finally looked up, and the words died in her throat. He was 41, she knew from his personnel file. 15 years older than her, though he wore it in ways that just made him more commanding. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples. Sharp features that had probably been beautiful once before power had carved them into something harder. Eyes so dark they were almost black, currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her want to squirm. Do you know what I do, Miss Hayes? It wasn't the question she'd expected. I'm sorry? My business. Do you know what I actually do? You're a venture capitalist. You acquire struggling companies, restructure them, and that's what the letterhead says. He set down his pen with deliberate care. I'm asking what you actually know. Scarlett's mouth went dry. There were rumors, of course, whispers about the clients who visited after hours, the meetings that weren't on any calendar, the way certain problems just disappeared. But those were the kind of rumors you didn't repeat if you wanted to keep working in Manhattan. I know that I respect boundaries, she said carefully. I handle what's in my job description. I don't ask questions about what isn't. Something flickered in his expression. Approval, maybe. Smart answer. You've always been smart, Miss Hayes. 3 years, never late, never sloppy, never overstepping. He leaned back in his chair. So last night was out of character. Heat flooded her face. Mr. DeLuca, I am so sorry. It was an accident. I was trying to send that photo to my sister and I... Were you drunk? What? No, I don't drink. Then it wasn't an accident. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. Accidents are what drunk people and idiots have. You're neither. Your fingers selected my conversation. Your brain told them to do it. Subconsciously, perhaps, but that's still choice. That's not... I would never deliberately... Wouldn't you? He stood, and the movement made her acutely aware of how much larger he was. 6'2" to her 5'5", broad-shouldered under that perfectly tailored suit. He circled his desk, and every instinct screamed at her to bolt. You've worked for me for 3 years. In that time, I've received exactly 2 personal messages from you. One was your mother's funeral, the other was last night. He stopped in front of her chair. Scarlett had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I sent you flowers, she said stupidly. For your mother. You sent flowers to my office with a card that said, with sympathy, appropriate, professional. That's what you always are, isn't it, Miss Hayes? Appropriately professional. Isn't that what you require? It is. He was quiet for a moment. But last night you showed me something else. You, in that red dress, genuinely happy, no careful distance, no professional mask, just you. The way he said that last word made her skin prickle. So here's my question. Victor leaned against his desk, arms crossed. Was it really an accident, or were you testing something, seeing what would happen if you let me see past the armor? Scarlett stood abruptly, needing to not be sitting while he loomed over her. It brought them closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and probably Italian. Mr. DeLuca, I came here this morning prepared to resign. If my error has made you uncomfortable... Uncomfortable? He laughed, short and sharp. Miss Hayes, I haven't been uncomfortable in 15 years. Interested? Yes. Curious? Absolutely. But uncomfortable? He shook his head. You have no idea how boring perfection becomes. She blinked. I don't understand. No, you wouldn't. He moved back to his desk, putting distance between them again. When he turned back, his expression had shuddered. Here's what's going to happen. You're not fired. You're not resigning. You're going to continue doing exactly what you've been doing. Relief and confusion warred in her chest. I am? With one change. He picked up a folder from his desk, held it out. You're being promoted. Scarlett took the folder automatically. Promoted? Senior executive assistant. 15% raise. You'll handle my private calendar now, not just the corporate one. That means evening meetings, weekend calls, travel arrangements for things that won't appear on any official itinerary. She stared at the folder like it might explode. Why? Because I need someone I can trust in that position. Someone smart enough to know when to ask questions and when to stay silent. Someone who's proven she can keep boundaries. His eyes held hers. Most importantly, someone who just showed me she's capable of being real, even if it was an accident. And if I say no, then you resign exactly as you planned. I'll give you an excellent reference. You'll find another position easily. He sat down behind his desk again, picking up his pen. But we both know you won't say no, Miss Hayes, because you're too curious about what happens next. He was right, and she hated that he was right. When do I start? The words came out steadier than she felt. Tonight, I have a meeting at 9, private location. You'll accompany me, take notes, stay quiet. He glanced up. And Miss Hayes, the dress code is different for private meetings. Wear something that doesn't scream corporate, but not that red dress. That one's just for accidents. Scarlett left his office with the folder clutched in her hands, and the distinct feeling that she'd just agreed to something far more complicated than a promotion. The address Victor had sent her that evening led to a restaurant in Tribeca that didn't have a sign. The kind of place where the door only opened if you knew to knock twice, pause, then knock once more. Scarlett had changed into a simple black dress, Professional enough for work, understated enough to not draw attention. The man who answered the door looked her over with eyes that had seen things she didn't want to imagine. "You're DeLuca's new girl?" She stiffened. "I'm his executive assistant." "Right, that's what I said." He jerked his head toward the back. "Private room. Don't talk unless he tells you to." The restaurant's main floor was dimly lit, populated by people who looked like they knew better than to look at each other too directly. She followed the guard through a door marked Privato, into a hallway lined with old photographs of Sicily. Victor sat at the head of a table in a room that smelled like cigar smoke and old money. 3 other men occupied the other chairs. 2 she didn't recognize, 1 she did. Marcus Chen, who ran most of the commercial real estate south of Houston Street. She'd seen his photo in the Times business section. "Ah, Miss Hayes." Victor gestured to an empty chair in the corner. "Please, sit." She did, pulling out the tablet she'd brought. The men barely glanced at her. "Now, where were we?" Victor steepled his fingers. "Marcus, you were explaining why your timeline has slipped again." Marcus Chen didn't look like a man used to being questioned. He looked even less comfortable being questioned by Victor. "The permits are taking longer than anticipated. The city is in your pocket," Victor interrupted. "Or so you told me when I fronted you the capital. So either you lied about your connections or something else is slowing you down." "Look, Victor, these things take time. I don't buy time. I buy results." Victor's voice didn't rise. Somehow that made it more menacing. "You have 6 weeks to break ground. If you can't manage that, I'll find someone who can, along with your collateral." Scarlett's fingers paused over her tablet. Collateral, not property. The way Marcus Chen went pale suggested it was something much more personal. "I can do it," Marcus said quickly. 6 weeks. You'll see the bulldozers rolling." "Good." Victor turned to the other 2 men. "And your territories? Any overlap issues since we redrew the lines?" "Territories. Not properties. Not districts. Territories." The next 90 minutes taught Scarlett more about Victor DeLuca's real business than 3 years in his corporate office ever had. He wasn't just a venture capitalist. He was a kingmaker, a power broker who operated in the spaces between legitimate business and the kind that only happened behind closed doors. The companies were real. The restructuring was real. But underneath it all ran something darker, more dangerous, and she was taking notes on all of it. When the meeting finally ended and the other men filed out with handshakes that looked more like treaty negotiations, Victor turned to her. "Well? Well, what? You just learned that your boss is more than what his tax returns suggest. Most people would be running for the door." Scarlett saved her notes, closed her tablet. "Most people didn't grow up in Newark. My father worked the docks. I know what it looks like when money moves through unofficial channels." Victor studied her. "Your files said your father died when you were 19. It did. How? Does it matter?" "It might." She met his eyes. "Heart attack, at work. 48 years old, dead before the ambulance arrived." The old anger rose in her throat, familiar and bitter. "The dock company said it wasn't their fault. Pre-existing condition. No benefits. My mother got nothing. I got student loans and 2 jobs to pay for them." Something shifted in Victor's expression. Not quite sympathy. She doubted he did sympathy. But recognition, maybe. "That's why you're good at this work. You understand that survival isn't pretty." "Is that what this is? Survival?" "Everything is survival, Miss Hayes. Some of us just have better weapons." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Come on. I'll drive you home." "That's not necessary." "It is. You just sat through a meeting where 4 men discussed territory distribution and debt collection. You think I'm letting you take the subway with that knowledge in your head?" He had a point. Debt. Victor's car was exactly what she'd expected. A black Mercedes that probably cost more than her apartment building. The driver who opened the door for them had the same coiled readiness as the guard at the restaurant. "Downtown," Victor said, sliding in beside her. "Miss Hayes will give you the address." She rattled off her street corner, hyper-aware of his proximity in the confined space. The privacy screen between them and the driver slid up with a quiet hum. "You did well tonight," Victor said. "No questions, no visible reactions, comprehensive notes. That's exactly what I need." "What about what I need?" The question surprised her as much as it surprised him. His eyebrow rose. What do you need, Miss Hayes? Context. If I'm going to be in these meetings, I need to know what I'm protecting myself from. Fair. He was quiet for a moment. How much do you actually want to know? Enough to not get myself killed by accidentally saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. Smart again. He shifted to face her more fully. Here's the simplified version. I broker deals that most people can't touch. Real estate, import-export, labor relations, political connections. Sometimes the money is clean, sometimes it's clean adjacent. Sometimes it just needs to become clean. I facilitate that transition. Money laundering, investment restructuring. His smile was sharp. Semantics matter in this business. And the territories? The collateral? Territories are areas of operation. Who controls which unions, which ports, which neighborhoods for specific enterprises? Collateral is what happens when someone can't pay their debts with money. He paused. Usually it's property. Sometimes it's leverage. Occasionally it's more direct. You mean violence? I mean consequences. Victor's expression didn't change. I don't hurt people for fun, Miss Hayes. I hurt them when they force me to. There's a difference. The car glided through Manhattan streets, moving past the glittering towers toward her neighborhood, where the buildings got shorter and the paint peeled. Scarlett watched the city slide by, processing. Why me? She finally asked. For this promotion. There are people who've worked for you longer. Because you sent me that photo. She turned to stare at him. That makes no sense. Doesn't it? For 3 years you've been perfect. Flawless execution, zero personality, complete professionalism. Then one night you slip. You show me something real. Do you know how valuable that is? Valuable? I'm surrounded by people who want something from me. Power, money, protection, revenge. They all perform. They all show me exactly what they think I want to see. His dark eyes held hers. You didn't perform. You made a mistake, a genuine human mistake. That tells me more about who you really are than 3 years of perfection ever could. The car pulled up outside her building. The driver didn't move to open the door. In this life, Victor continued, trust is currency. And I can't trust perfect. Perfect is always hiding something. But someone who slips, who shows me their truth accidentally, that's someone I can work with. So you're gambling that I'm honest because I'm clumsy? I'm gambling that you're honest because you didn't try to capitalize on your mistake. You came in this morning ready to resign, not to leverage what happened into something more. That's rare. He finally reached past her to open the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we have a corporate board meeting. Back to the usual performance. Scarlett stepped out onto the sidewalk, then turned back. Mr. DeLuca? That photo really was an accident. I know. His smile was different this time, less sharp, more genuine. That's why it mattered. The door closed, the Mercedes pulled away. Scarlett stood on her cracked sidewalk watching taillights disappear into Manhattan traffic, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. The next 3 weeks blurred together in a strange double life. Days were normal. Corporate meetings, conference calls, expense reports, all the machinery of DeLuca Financial running with oiled precision. But 3 or 4 nights a week, Scarlett found herself in the back rooms of restaurants, in executive suites of hotels, once in a warehouse in Queens that definitely wasn't up to code. She met people whose names appeared in Forbes, and people whose names appeared in sealed indictments. She took notes in 5 languages using a tablet that encrypted everything in real time. She learned to read a room, to know when Victor needed information immediately and when he needed her silent. She also learned that Victor DeLuca was even more dangerous than she'd suspected. It wasn't the violence, though there was that, witnessed once when a man who'd tried to cheat him found himself face down on a table with Victor's hand crushing his wrist until bones creaked. It was the control. The way he could flip from charming to terrifying in a heartbeat, the way he always knew more than he revealed, the way he played people like chess pieces, and the way he'd started looking at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. Scarlett told herself she was imagining it, that the intensity in his eyes when she briefed him was just focus, that the way he'd started sitting closer to her in cars was just coincidence, that the touches, hand on her lower back guiding her through a door, fingers brushing hers when passing documents, were nothing more than ordinary contact. She told herself she definitely wasn't thinking about him when she lay awake at night in her empty apartment. She was a terrible liar, even to herself. Earth to Scarlet. She blinked. Across the restaurant table, her sister Elena was waving a hand in front of her face. They were having their standing Friday lunch, a tradition that had survived even Scarlet's new nocturnal work schedule. Sorry, long week. Long 3 weeks. Elena studied her with the kind of perception that only a sibling could achieve. You look exhausted, and you've checked your phone 6 times since we ordered. Victor has a meeting this afternoon. Victor? Elena's eyebrows rose. When did Mr. DeLuca become Victor? Scarlet felt heat creep up her neck. That's what everyone calls him in private meetings. Uh-huh. And how many private meetings are we talking about? It's work, Elena. Right. Work. That's why you're wearing a new dress and actual jewelry. Elena leaned forward. Sweetie, I love you, but you're a terrible liar. What's really going on? Scarlet's phone buzzed before she could answer. Victor's name flashed on the screen. Victor DeLuca. Change of plans. Meeting moved to 7 p.m. I'll pick you up at 6:30. Wear something nice. This one matters. See? Elena pointed at the phone. He's texting you about clothes. That's not a boss. That's... Don't. Scarlet cut her off. It's not like that. He's just particular about appearance at certain meetings. Does he text all his assistants about what to wear? I'm not all his assistants. She trailed off, realizing she didn't actually know how to finish that sentence. Elena's expression softened. Be careful, Scar. Men like that, powerful men, they don't play by normal rules. And you've been hurt enough. Scarlet thought about her ex, Tyler, who'd left her 2 years ago for someone whose father could help his career. I'm not playing anything. I'm just doing my job. Keep telling yourself that. Elena signaled for the check. But when you stop believing it, call me. I'm not saying don't do whatever you're doing. I'm saying don't do it with your eyes closed. That evening, Scarlet stood in front of her closet trying to decide what something nice meant in Victor's world. The black dress she'd worn to previous meetings felt too plain. The red dress from that infamous photo felt too significant. She finally settled on deep blue, sophisticated, but not trying too hard. At 6:30 exactly, her phone buzzed. Downstairs. He was leaning against the Mercedes when she emerged from her building, and for a moment she forgot how to walk. He'd traded his usual suit for something even more expensive looking, charcoal gray that made his eyes look even darker. No tie, top button undone. Miss Hayes. His eyes traveled over her dress in a way that made her acutely aware of every inch of fabric against her skin. You clean up well. So do you. Something flickered in his expression. Was that a compliment? Careful, people might think we're becoming friendly. Heaven forbid. He laughed, actually laughed, and opened the door for her himself. The driver was different tonight, older, more deferential. When Victor slid in beside her, he didn't raise the privacy screen. Where are we going? Scarlet asked. The opera. She blinked. I'm sorry. Lincoln Center, La Traviata. I have a box. He adjusted his cufflinks, not looking at her. Senator Morrison will be there with his wife. We'll happen to bump into them during intermission. I need you there to remember every word of what he says when his wife isn't listening. I didn't know you liked opera. I don't. I like having places where powerful people have to be polite to me in public. Now he did look at her. Do you? Like opera? I've never been. His expression shifted to something she couldn't read. Never? Not all of us had box seats at Lincoln Center growing up, Mr. DeLuca. It's Victor, at least when we're alone. He was quiet for a moment. Where did you grow up? I know Newark, but where exactly? Ironbound. My parents immigrated from Portugal before I was born. Dad got dock work. Mom cleaned houses. We had a walk-up above a restaurant that smelled like bacalhau. She could still smell it if she closed her eyes. Salt cod and olive oil, the soundtrack of her childhood. It was loud and cramped and nothing like this. This? He gestured at the car's leather interior. Any of this. Your world. It wasn't always my world either. Victor's voice carried something she'd never heard from him before. Something almost vulnerable. My father was a mechanic in Queens, came from nothing, built a small empire through mechanic shops, then used that to launder money for people who needed it. That's how I learned the business. On my back under cars, listening to him negotiate. What happened to him? Heart attack, 50 years old. Dead before the ambulance came. His eyes met hers, and suddenly the connection was electric. Sound familiar? Scarlett's breath caught. You never said, I don't talk about it, but you should know, I understand what it's like to watch your father die because the system doesn't care about men who work with their hands. He turned to look out the window. That's why I do what I do. The legitimate businesses, the illegal ones, it's all about making sure people like him don't get crushed, that their families don't get nothing. Is that really why? Or do you just like power? He smiled, sharp and honest. Can it be both? The car pulled up to Lincoln Center. The plaza glittered with Manhattan's elite in evening wear, a sea of privilege that Scarlett had only ever seen in movies. Victor climbed out, then offered his hand. She took it. His fingers closed around hers, warm, strong, deliberate. Stay close, he said quietly. And remember, you're not the help tonight. You're with me. That means you're untouchable. They walked into the opera house together, Victor's hand settling on her lower back in a way that felt both protective and possessive. People noticed them. Of course they did. Victor DeLuca didn't attend cultural events without reason, and he certainly didn't bring dates. Except she wasn't a date. She was working. Scarlett repeated that to herself as they climbed the stairs to his box. She was working. This was professional. The fact that her heart hammered every time he touched her was irrelevant. The box was pure luxury, red velvet and gilt, positioned perfectly to see the stage and be seen by everyone else. Victor guided her to the front seat, then settled beside her. Close. Too close for a boss and assistant. Relax, he murmured. You look like you're about to face a firing squad. I'm in a building where people pay $1,000 for a seat. I'm allowed to be tense. You're in my box. No one questions who I bring. His hand found hers on the armrest between them. Breathe, Scarlett. It was the first time he'd used her first name. The sound of it in his voice did things to her equilibrium. The lights dimmed, the orchestra swelled, and despite everything, the danger, the confusion, the absolute insanity of her situation, Scarlett found herself getting lost in the music. During the first intermission, Victor steered her through the crowd with practiced ease. Senator Morrison was exactly where Victor had predicted he'd be, near the bar, without his wife. Victor! The senator's smile was all teeth and no warmth. Didn't expect to see you here. Not really your scene. I'm expanding my horizons, Senator. Victor's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on Scarlett's back. This is my associate, Miss Hayes. She's been helping me with some new ventures. Morrison's eyes traveled over her in a way that made her skin crawl. Lovely to meet you. Senator. Scarlett kept her voice neutral, professional. We should talk, Morrison said to Victor, about that zoning situation in Red Hook. Should we? Victor's tone was deceptively mild. Last I heard, that project was stalled in committee. Your committee, specifically. Bureaucracy. You know how it is. Morrison grabbed champagne from a passing waiter. But perhaps we could expedite things. For the right consideration. Consideration. What kind are we discussing? Scarlett's tablet was in her clutch. She couldn't take notes here, not overtly. She'd have to remember everything. The harbor development deal you're working on. If that moves forward, certain other parties would be very grateful. Grateful enough to see that Red Hook gets the green light. Certain parties with last names that rhyme with Rossini. Morrison's expression flickered. I can't comment on... Of course not. Victor's smile was shark-like. Tell me, Senator, does your wife know about those parties you attend in the Hamptons? The ones where the entertainment is significantly younger than voting age? The color drained from Morrison's face. That's a dangerous accusation. It's not an accusation, it's a fact I'm choosing not to share. Yet. Victor's voice dropped lower. Here's what's going to happen. The Red Hook project gets approved next week. No conditions, no delays. In exchange, I forget about those photos my people took in August. We both get what we want. Everyone stays happy. Morrison looked like he might be sick. You're blackmailing me. I'm negotiating. There's a difference. Victor guided Scarlett back toward their box. Enjoy the second act, Senator. I hear it's quite tragic. Back in their seats, Scarlett's hands shook slightly as she pulled out her tablet and quickly typed everything she'd memorized. Victor watched her work, his expression unreadable. You didn't react, he said when she finished. To what? To learning that I blackmail senators with evidence of statutory rape. Scarlett met his eyes. Did he do it? Yes. Then he deserves whatever he gets. She saved her notes. I'm more disturbed that he's still in office than by you using it as leverage. Victor studied her for a long moment. You continue to surprise me, Miss Hayes. Scarlet. What? You called me Scarlet earlier. If you're Victor when we're alone, I'm Scarlet. She tilted her head slightly. Fair's fair. Something heated in his expression. Fair's fair, he repeated, and the way he said her name made her forget there were hundreds of people around them. The second act blurred past. Scarlet was hyper-aware of every shift in Victor's position, every accidental brush of his arm against hers. When the heroine died and the lights came up, she realized she'd barely processed the story. What did you think? Victor asked as they filed out with the rest of the crowd. About the opera? About the evening. Scarlet considered lying. I think I should be more disturbed by all of this than I am. But you're not. No. They reached the car. I grew up watching powerful people crush the weak. My whole life was about being invisible, being safe, never being noticed by anyone who could hurt me. And now I'm in the middle of it, and I should be terrified, but instead I'm just... She couldn't finish. Alive, Victor suggested. He opened the door but didn't step back, trapping her between him and the car. That's what this world does, Scarlet. It makes you feel things, real things. Everything else is just performance. They were too close. She could see the flecks of gray in his dark eyes, smell his cologne mixed with the Manhattan night air. Victor, I'm going to kiss you, he said quietly, unless you tell me not to. Her breath caught. Every rational thought screamed that this was a terrible idea. He was her boss. He was dangerous. He was 15 years older and operated in a world where people got hurt for making wrong moves. This could only end badly. Okay, she whispered. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Then he kissed her, and Scarlet's entire world tilted sideways. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming, possessive, a kiss that tasted like power and dark promises. His other hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, and she melted into him like she'd been waiting for this for 3 years without knowing it. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. That was a mistake, Victor said, but he didn't let her go. Probably. It can't happen again. Right. I'm serious, Scarlet. What I do, the people in my world, they would use you to get to me. If they thought you were anything more than an employee, I understand. He searched her face. Do you? Because I've spent 15 years building walls between myself and anything that could be used as leverage. I don't do this. I don't kiss assistants in front of Lincoln Center where anyone could see. I don't risk what I've built for... Then why did you? Because you sent me that damn photo. He finally released her, stepping back. Because you walked into my world and didn't flinch. Because when I told you I blackmail senators, you asked if he deserved it. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Because you make me want things I can't afford to want. Scarlet's heart hammered. What do we do about it? Nothing. We do nothing. Victor's expression hardened, the vulnerability shuddering. You go home. Tomorrow we pretend this didn't happen. We maintain the boundaries. We stay professional. And if I don't want to pretend, then you're even more dangerous than I thought. He opened the car door wider. Go home, Scarlet, before I make an even bigger mistake. She should have listened. Should have climbed into that car and let him drive her back to her safe, boring apartment. Should have resigned on Monday and found a job where her boss didn't make her feel like she was burning from the inside out. Instead, she stood her ground. What if I'm willing to be dangerous? Victor's eyes went dark. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I've spent my whole life being careful, being safe, being invisible. Maybe I'm tired of it. She stepped closer, emboldened by the look on his face. Maybe I want to know what it feels like to be seen by someone like you. Someone like me ruins things, Scarlet. Beautiful things. I can't promise I won't ruin you. Then don't promise. Her hand found his chest, felt his heart hammering under expensive fabric. Just be honest. Do you want this? Want doesn't matter. Does. It's the only thing that matters. She looked up at him, refusing to back down. Do you want this? Want me? Victor's control cracked. She could see it happen. The careful distance he'd maintained for 3 years splintering under the weight of whatever was building between them. Yes, he said roughly. I've wanted you since you walked into my office 3 years ago and told me you'd reorganize my entire schedule if I'd just give you a chance. I've wanted you every time you handed me coffee exactly how I like it without asking. I've wanted you at every single late-night meeting where you're the only real thing in a room full of performance. His hand tangled in her hair, and I've especially wanted you since you sent me that photo and reminded me that underneath all that professionalism is someone who knows how to be happy. So yes, I want you, but wanting isn't enough. Why not? Because people in my life get hurt, Scarlett, and I've worked very hard to make sure that doesn't happen to anyone I care about by not caring about anyone at all. He released her hair, stepped back. So I'm going to do the right thing, for once. I'm going to put you in this car, send you home, and tomorrow we reset. Clean slate, professional distance. And if I don't want that, then I'll do it anyway. Because unlike you, I've seen what happens to the people I care about. His voice dropped. My father died when I was 23. My mother lasted 6 months before grief killed her. The woman I was supposed to marry got caught in crossfire from a deal gone wrong. I don't have a good track record, Scarlett. Anyone who gets close to me ends up collateral damage. I'm not fragile. Everyone's fragile. You just don't know it until you break. He finally, physically, put her in the car. Go home. We'll talk Monday. The door closed. Scarlett watched through tinted glass as Victor stood on the curb, hands in his pockets, looking like a man who'd just lost something he'd convinced himself he didn't want. The driver pulled away. She didn't look back. The weekend passed in a fog. Scarlett cleaned her apartment, had dinner with Elena, who took one look at her and said, "I told you so," without actually saying it, and tried very hard not to think about the kiss. About the way Victor had looked at her like she was the only real thing in his world. About the heat in his voice when he admitted he'd wanted her for 3 years. Monday morning arrived with rain and the kind of Manhattan gray that made everything feel slightly apocalyptic. Scarlett dressed in her most severe suit, armor again, and arrived at the office at 6:50 a.m. Victor was already there. Of course he was. "Miss Hayes." His voice was perfectly professional. "I need you to reschedule the Wednesday meeting with the Colombo group. Something's come up." "Of course. Anything else?" "The Morrison project cleared, permits approved this morning. Send him flowers. Something that says, 'I knew you'd see reason.'" "I'll handle it." They were doing it, the reset, professional distance, as if Friday night had never happened. It lasted until noon. Scarlett was at her desk when Victor's office door opened. "Miss Hayes, a word." She followed him inside. He closed the door, drew the blinds. "We need to talk about Friday. You said we wouldn't." "I said a lot of things." He looked tired, she realized, like he'd slept as badly as she had. "I've been doing this for 15 years. Building walls, keeping distance, making sure nothing and no one gets close enough to matter. It's kept me alive. It's kept me effective." He paused. "And I hate it." Scarlett's heart stuttered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I've spent the last 3 days trying to convince myself that keeping you at arm's length is the right move, the smart move, the safe move." He crossed to his desk, braced his hands on it. "And I can't do it. Because for the first time in 15 years, I don't want to be safe. I want to be reckless. With you." "Victor, let me finish. If we do this, and I mean really do this, it changes everything. You'll become a target. Anyone who wants to hurt me will look at you and see opportunity. You'll need protection, different protocols. You can't live in that walk-up anymore. It's not secure. You can't take the subway alone. You can't be unaccompanied in public. Your entire life will revolve around staying safe in a world that will actively try to make you unsafe." "You're trying to scare me off." "I'm trying to be honest." He finally looked at her. "I'm dangerous, Scarlett. And I'm offering you a very dangerous thing. So I need you to be absolutely sure before you say yes. Because once you're in my world like this, getting out is complicated." Scarlett thought about her careful life, her safe apartment, her predictable routines, the way she'd spent 26 years being invisible, being cautious, never taking risks, never being seen. "I've never been sure of anything in my life," she admitted. "I've always played it safe, always chosen the path that wouldn't hurt me. And you know what I have to show for it? A studio apartment, student debt, and an ex-boyfriend who left me for someone more useful." She crossed to where he stood. You're asking if I'm sure. I'm not, but I'm more sure of this than I've been of anything else. So yes, I'm saying yes to whatever this is, even if it's dangerous, especially if it's dangerous. Victor searched her face. You're going to regret this. Probably, but I'd regret walking away more. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, like he'd been holding back for much longer than 3 days. Scarlett kissed him back, pouring 3 years of carefully suppressed attraction into it. His hands found her waist, lifted her onto the edge of his desk. Papers scattered. She didn't care. This is insane, he muttered against her mouth. Completely. I should stop. But you won't. No. His forehead pressed against hers. I won't. A knock on the door made them both freeze. Victor's hand shot out to straighten her skirt as he stepped back, putting distance between them in seconds. Come in, he called, voice perfectly steady. His corporate assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Rossini's office called. He wants to move up tomorrow's meeting to this afternoon, 4 o'clock. Victor didn't look at Scarlett. Tell him that works, and clear my schedule after 5. I have personal business. The assistant left. The door clicked shut. Rossini, Scarlett said carefully. As in the family Senator Morrison mentioned? The same. And if I'm bringing you to that meeting, you need to understand something. Victor's expression was grave. Salvatore Rossini isn't like Morrison. He's the real thing, old school, connected to things that make my operation look like a lemonade stand. He and I have an arrangement. I launder money for his legitimate businesses. He keeps other families from interfering with my territories. Why would he want to meet today instead of tomorrow? That's what concerns me. Victor pulled out his phone, typed something. Either he's heard something that makes him nervous, or he's planning something that requires faster timing. Either way, it's not good. Scarlett's stomach tightened. Should I be there? You're my senior assistant. You're supposed to be there. He looked at her then, really looked. But if you want out, if you want to walk away before this gets more complicated, now is the time. I already said yes. That was before Salvatore Rossini entered the equation. I don't care. You should. Victor's voice was tight. The people I blackmail are one thing. The people I work for are another. And Salvatore Rossini is someone you work for even when you think you're in charge. Then I guess I'll meet him. Scarlett straightened her jacket. 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock. Victor caught her hand as she turned to leave. Scarlett, I meant what I said. This changes everything. She squeezed his fingers. Good. I was tired of everything staying the same. Wonk. At 3:45 p.m., Scarlett found herself in the back of Victor's Mercedes again, this time heading to a social club in Little Italy that definitely fronted for something else. Victor had been on the phone for the last 20 minutes, speaking rapid Italian she couldn't follow. His expression was darker than she'd ever seen it. When he finally hung up, she asked, How bad is it? One of Rossini's shipments got intercepted last night. Not by police, by another family. He thinks there's a leak in my operation since I handle the logistics. Is there? Not for me. But someone in the chain talked, or got sloppy, or got bought. He looked out the window at the narrow streets. When Rossini gets paranoid, people die. We need to convince him it wasn't my people, and we need to do it fast. How do we do that? You don't do anything except take notes and look professional. I do the talking. If he addresses you directly, be respectful but don't volunteer information. Men like Rossini see women as either property or decoration. Don't correct him. Scarlett's jaw tightened. That's survival, Victor interrupted. I don't like it either, but this isn't the time for feminist principles. This is the time for staying alive. The car stopped. Victor's hand found hers squeezed once. Stay close. Don't react to anything you see or hear. And Scarlett? If anything goes wrong, you run. Don't wait for me. Just run. That should have terrified her. Instead, it crystallized something. She was really in this. In his world, his danger, his life. And there was no going back. The social club was exactly what she'd expected. Dim lighting, bocce ball in the back, old men playing cards at scattered tables. The man who led them to a private room looked like he'd killed people without breaking a sweat. Salvatore Rossini sat at a table that probably predated World War II, a glass of wine in front of him. He was in his 60s, silver-haired, dressed like someone's grandfather. The effect was deliberately disarming. The man standing behind him with a gun visible under his jacket was less subtle. Victor? Rossini's accent was thick. Thank you for coming on short notice. Salvatore, of course. Victor pulled out a chair for Scarlett, then sat himself. I understand there's been a problem. A problem? Yes, that's one word for it. Rossini's eyes settled on Scarlett. And who is this? My senior assistant, Miss Hayes. She handles my private business. Pretty girl. Rossini's gaze made her skin crawl. You trust her with our business? With my life. That got Rossini's attention. His eyebrows rose. High praise. She must be very good at her job. The best. Scarlett kept her expression neutral, hands folded in her lap, tablet ready. Inside, her heart hammered. So, Rossini turned back to Victor. My shipment. Someone knew the route, the timing, the contents. Only 3 people had all that information. You, me, and Marco, who coordinated the transport. Marco is dead, which leaves you and me. I didn't leak it, Salvatore. No? Then explain how the Valentino family knew exactly when and where to hit the truck. Victor's expression didn't change. How do you know it was the Valentinos? Because they're selling my merchandise at half price in Brooklyn, not subtle. Then this isn't about a leak. This is about territory. The Valentinos are pushing into your Brooklyn operations. They probably surveilled the whole route, got lucky with timing. Or they have someone inside my organization, someone who tipped them off using your logistics. The air in the room got heavier. If there's a leak, Victor said carefully, it's not from my end. My people know what happens when they talk. But I can help you find where the actual breach is. How generous. Rossini sipped his wine. And what would that cost me? Nothing. Because if someone in my logistics chain is compromised, that's my problem too. I can't have the Valentinos knowing my routes any more than you can. Rossini studied him for a long moment. You're either very smart or very stupid, Victor. I haven't decided which. I prefer smart. Don't we all? Rossini's gaze flicked to Scarlett. Tell me, Miss Hayes, has Victor here been acting strange lately? Meeting with people he shouldn't? Money moving in unexpected ways? Scarlett kept her voice steady. Mr. DeLuca's schedule has been consistent. No unusual meetings outside normal business. Normal business. Rossini smiled. And what exactly is normal in our business? It was a trap. Acknowledge the illegal activity and she implicated herself. Deny it and she looked stupid or dishonest. I maintain schedules, she said evenly. I don't make judgments about content. Rossini laughed. Smart answer. No wonder Victor keeps you close. He stood, and his guard's hand moved closer to the gun. Here's what's going to happen. You have 1 week to find my leak. If you can't find it, I'll assume it's you. And then we'll have a different conversation. Understood. Victor didn't stand. You'll have your leak. I hope so, for both your sakes. Rossini's eyes settled on Scarlett again. Especially hers. It would be a shame to waste such a pretty face. The threat was clear. Scarlett's blood turned to ice. Victor's hand found hers under the table, squeezed hard enough to hurt, warning her to stay quiet, stay still. We'll see ourselves out, Victor said. They walked out of that social club with measured steps, Scarlett's legs shaking beneath her. Back in the car, Victor immediately pulled out his phone. Marcus, I need every detail on the logistics for Rossini's Brooklyn shipment last week. Routes, timing, everyone who touched it. And I need it in 4 hours, not 4 days. He hung up, then turned to Scarlett. Are you okay? He threatened me. I know. He threatened me because I work for you. I know. Victor's jaw was tight. I told you this would happen. You did. Scarlett took a shaky breath. I still don't want to run. He stared at her. You should. You absolutely should. But I won't. Victor pulled her against him, and she went, burying her face in his shoulder. He smelled like expensive cologne and danger, and something that was becoming desperately familiar. We'll find the leak, he said into her hair. We'll fix this. And then I'm putting better protection on you. Armed guards, secure apartment, the works. Victor, not negotiable, Scarlett. You just became leverage. That means you're a target, and I don't lose things that matter to me. She pulled back to look at him. I matter to you? You know you do. Say it anyway. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You matter, more than is smart, more than is safe. You matter so much that if Rossini touches you, I'll burn his entire operation to the ground and damn the consequences. That's insane. I know, but that's what you do to me, Scarlett. You make me insane. He kissed her forehead. Come on. We have 4 hours to find a traitor before Rossini decides I'm the leak and kills us both. Scarlett had thought the danger was theoretical, something she could handle because it existed in the abstract. But sitting in Victor's office at 8 p.m., listening to him interrogate his own people over speakerphone while guards appeared in the hallway outside, she realized how real it had become. Someone had betrayed Victor to the Valentinos. Someone in his organization had given up Rossini's shipment, and until they found that person, she and Victor were both dead targets waiting for Rossini's patience to run out. It's Marcus, Victor said suddenly, hanging up his latest call. It has to be. He coordinated the transport, he's been defensive about timeline slips, and 3 months ago he started paying off a debt he shouldn't have been able to afford. Are you sure? No, but I'm out of time to be sure. Victor stood, grabbed his jacket. I'm going to Marcus's house. You're staying here with security until I get back. Like hell. He turned to stare at her. Excuse me? You heard me. You're going to confront someone who might be working with a family that already wants you dead. I'm not sitting here waiting to find out if you come back. Scarlett, this is non-negotiable. Then we're having our first fight, because I'm going with you. She stood too, met his glare with one of her own. You told me being with you means being in danger. Fine, I accepted that. But it doesn't mean I sit on the sidelines while you walk into threats alone. You think being with me means being my partner in violence? I think being with you means being with you. All of it. She grabbed her coat. So either I'm going with you or I'm following in my own car. Your choice. Victor stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You're going to get me killed. Not if I kill you first for being overprotective. Fine. You're coming. But you stay in the car, you stay out of sight, and if anything goes wrong, you drive away. Deal? Deal. It was a lie. They both knew it. Chad. Marcus Chen lived in a brownstone in Brooklyn that was too nice for his legitimate income. Victor parked 3 houses down, engine running. I'm going in alone, he said. If you hear gunshots, drive to this address. He handed her a card. It's a safe house. Tell them Victor sent you. They'll protect you until Rossini's dealt with. Victor, I need to know you'll be safe, please. His hand cupped her face. I've lost everyone I've cared about. I can't lose you too. Then don't go in alone. I have to. Marcus knows me. He trusts me. If I bring muscle, he'll know something's wrong. Victor kissed her hard and fast. Stay here. I mean it. He got out of the car and walked up Marcus's steps, knocked twice. Scarlett watched the door open, watched Victor disappear inside, tried to breathe normally. 5 minutes passed. 10, 15. Then she heard the gunshot. Every instinct screamed at her to drive away, to follow Victor's instructions, to survive. But her hands were already throwing open the car door, already running toward that brownstone. Because Victor was in there, possibly bleeding, possibly dying, and she'd be damned if she followed orders while the first person who'd truly seen her in years got killed. She burst through the front door into chaos. Marcus was on the floor, bleeding from his shoulder. Victor stood over him with a gun she'd never seen him carry. 2 other men, Valentino soldiers, she guessed, were down. One wasn't moving. The other was groaning, clutching his leg. Victor's head whipped toward her. What the hell are you doing? Making sure you don't die, apparently. Scarlett's eyes took in the scene. Is he the leak? He was meeting with Valentino when I walked in, so yes. Victor kicked Marcus's phone away from his reaching hand. Call Rossini. Tell him I found his leak. Marcus Chen selling logistics to the Valentinos for the last 4 months. Scarlett pulled out her phone with shaking hands, made the call, delivered the message. Rossini's response was short. Bring him to me. Alive. She relayed it to Victor. Alive, of course. Victor grabbed Marcus by his good shoulder, hauled him up. You're going to wish I'd killed you here. Marcus's eyes found Scarlett. You're making a mistake following him. Victor DeLuca destroys everything he touches. Ask his dead fiancée. Victor hit him. Hard. Marcus crumpled. Get in the car, Victor said to Scarlett. His voice was flat, emotionless. We're delivering a package. The drive to Rossini's social club was silent. Marcus zip-tied in the back, still bleeding. Victor white-knuckling the steering wheel. Scarlett trying to process the fact that she'd just witnessed her boss/lover shoot two men without hesitation. His fiancée, she finally said. What happened? Not now. Victor, I said not now. His voice cracked slightly. Please. So she stayed quiet. At the social club, Rossini's men took Marcus inside. Scarlett heard screaming start 30 seconds later. Come on, Victor said. You don't need to hear this. They walked through Little Italy and shunts until they found a late-night cafe that was miraculously empty. Victor ordered 2 espressos. They sat at a corner table. Her name was Angela, he said finally. We were supposed to get married. I was 28, thought I was invincible, thought I could keep her separate from the business. He stared at his cup. The Moretti family disagreed. They wanted my territory. Took her to make me give it up. Scarlett's throat tightened. What happened? I didn't give it up, called their bluff, told them I didn't negotiate with kidnappers. His voice was hollow. They killed her, sent me her engagement ring with a note that said, wrong answer. Oh, Victor. I went to war, burned the Morettis out of New York completely, killed everyone involved, and when it was over, I swore I'd never give anyone that kind of leverage again. He finally looked at her. That's why I tried to keep you away, because history has a way of repeating itself, and I've already buried one person I loved. I can't do it again. You loved her. I did. And now? Scarlett's voice was barely a whisper. What do you feel now? Victor's hand found hers across the table. Terrified, because you stormed into a building where I was actively shooting people, even though I told you to stay in the car, because you called Rossini like it was nothing, because you're sitting here listening to me talk about the woman I got killed and you're not running. He laced their fingers together. I'm terrified because I'm falling for you, and everyone I fall for ends up dead. I'm not dead yet. Give it time. Victor. She squeezed his hand. I'm not Angela. I'm not naive about your world. I walked in with my eyes open, and I'm still here. For now, for as long as you'll have me. He pulled her close, kissed her in that tiny cafe while Brooklyn hummed around them. When they finally broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I'm putting you in a secure location tomorrow. Armed guards. New identity if necessary, whatever it takes to keep you safe. What if I don't want that? Too bad. Rossini knows you matter to me now. That makes you a target for everyone who wants to hurt me. His eyes were fierce. I won't lose you the way I lost her. I can't. Scarlett understood then that this wasn't just about protection. It was about Victor's trauma, his guilt, his absolute terror of caring about someone again. She could fight him on it, could insist on independence, or she could let him protect her the way he needed to, while she figured out how to protect herself. Okay, she said softly. Whatever you think is best. That easy. Nothing about this is easy, but I trust you. She managed a smile. Even if you did shoot 2 people tonight. They'll live, mostly. Victor stood, pulled her up with him. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. Tomorrow we start your new life. As the woman who matters to Victor DeLuca. Is that a promotion or a death sentence? Both. Definitely both. They walked back into the Manhattan night together, and Scarlett thought about how 3 weeks ago her biggest concern had been whether Victor liked his coffee at exactly 180 degrees. Now she was being put in protective custody because a mob boss might use her to destroy the man she was falling dangerously in love with. Elena had been right. She really should have been more careful, but careful had never made her feel this alive. And for better or worse, she was in this now. All the way in, with a man who killed to protect his business, and who looked at her like she was the only real thing in a world built on lies. The wrong message that started it all felt like destiny now. Like maybe it hadn't been an accident at all. Like maybe she'd needed to send that photo to remind herself, and him, that underneath the armor and the danger and the carefully maintained distance, they were both just people trying to survive in a world that didn't make survival easy. Victor's hand found hers as they walked. She held on tight. Behind them, somewhere in that social club, Marcus Chen was probably dying. Ahead of them, a war was brewing with the Valentinos. Around them, Manhattan glittered with all its beautiful, terrible danger. And Scarlet Hayes, who'd spent her whole life being invisible, was finally, terrifyingly, seen. The safe house turned out to be a penthouse in Tribeca, with bulletproof windows and enough security equipment to guard a small country. Scarlet stood in the living room at 2 a.m, watching Victor argue with a man built like a refrigerator about surveillance protocols. "I want someone on her 24/7, Victor was saying. "Rotating shifts, no exceptions." "Boss, that's overkill. We've got cameras on every entrance, biometric locks." "Did I ask for your opinion, James?" The refrigerator man shut up. Victor turned to Scarlet, his expression softening marginally. "You'll stay here until the Valentino situation is resolved. James and his team will handle security. You need anything, you tell them." "What about work?" Scarlet asked. "I can't just disappear from the office." "You're on administrative leave, paid, obviously." "Victor, I can't just sit here doing nothing while you—" "Yes, you can." He crossed to her, hands settling on her shoulders. "Scarlet, I watched Marcus bleed out tonight in Rossini's basement. They used bolt cutters on his fingers before he stopped screaming. That's what happens in this world when you cross the wrong people. I will not let that happen to you." She wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle herself, that she wasn't some delicate thing that needed locking away. But the look in his eyes stopped her. This wasn't about control. It was about trauma. About Angela's ring in a box with that note. About Victor's absolute certainty that everyone he cared about ended up destroyed. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll stay. But you have to promise me something." "What?" "You come back every night. I don't care how late. I don't care how dangerous things get. You come back here so I know you're alive." Victor's thumb brushed her cheek. "I can't promise that." "Then promise you'll try." "That I can do." He kissed her forehead, lingering like he was memorizing the feel of her. "Get some sleep. I'll be back before morning." He wasn't. Scarlet woke at 7 to bright sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and James sitting in an armchair by the door like a sentinel. She jerked upright, heart hammering. "Where's Victor?" "Meeting ran long. He texted an hour ago, said he'd be here by noon." She grabbed her phone from the nightstand. 3 messages from Victor, all time-stamped between 5 and 6 a.m. "Victor, still dealing with Rossini. Stay inside. Victor, Valentinos are making noise. Might escalate. Victor, I'm fine, don't worry. The last one made her want to throw something. Don't worry." As if that was possible when he was out there, navigating gang wars and territorial disputes while she sat in a gilded cage. "There's breakfast in the kitchen," James offered. "Chef came by at 6. "You have a chef?" "Mr. DeLuca has a chef. For the safe house. Along with a housekeeper, maintenance crew, and enough weapons in the panic room to stage a small coup." Scarlet rubbed her eyes. "This is insane. This is Tuesday, ma'am." She found herself laughing despite everything. "Does it get less surreal?" James considered this. "No. You just get used to the surreal being normal. Coffee?" The hours crawled by. Scarlet tried watching television, couldn't focus, tried reading a book she found on the shelf, gave up after rereading the same page 5 times. She paced the penthouse like a caged animal, checking her phone every 3 minutes. At 11:30, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Hayes?" The voice was unfamiliar, male, with an accent she couldn't place. "You don't know me, but I know you. I know you're sitting in Victor DeLuca's safe house. I know James is currently in the kitchen making his 3rd espresso. I know you're wearing blue pajamas, and you've been pacing for the last 20 minutes. Ice flooded her veins. "Who is this?" "Someone who wants to make you an offer." "Victor DeLuca took something from my family. I'd like to take something from him. Specifically, you." "I'm hanging up." "Do that and the bomb in your building's parking garage goes off. Kill you, James, probably half the block. Or you can listen." Scarlet's hand shook. "What do you want? Smart girl. Here's the deal. You walk out of that penthouse in the next 10 minutes, alone. You get in the black sedan waiting on the corner of Greenwich and Franklin. We have a conversation. If I like what you have to say, you go free. If not..." He paused. Well, Victor will get another ring in a box. He'll kill you. Eventually, but you'll still be dead. 10 minutes, Miss Hayes. The clock's ticking. The line went dead. Scarlett stood frozen, phone clutched in her hand. This couldn't be happening. She should tell James, should call Victor, should do anything except what this stranger was demanding. But if he was telling the truth about the bomb, if he really was watching the penthouse, her phone buzzed. A photo loaded. The parking garage. A device wired to the support column. LED display counting down. 9 minutes, 42 seconds. She had no choice. Scarlett dressed quickly, pulled her hair back, tried to control the shaking in her hands. She could hear James in the kitchen, the espresso machine hissing. She walked to the front door as quietly as possible. Going somewhere? She jumped. James stood in the hallway, cup in hand, expression carefully neutral. I need air, she lied. Just the hallway. 5 minutes. Can't let you do that, ma'am. Boss's orders. James, please. No. He set down his cup. Whatever's happening, we handle it together. That's the job. Scarlett's phone buzzed again. A new photo. James's sister, she guessed from the family resemblance, sitting in what looked like a coffee shop, unaware she was being photographed. The message was clear. I have to go, Scarlett said, and you can't stop me. Because if you do, people die. People who have nothing to do with any of this. James's expression hardened. What did they threaten you with? It doesn't matter. Just tell Victor I'm sorry, and that this wasn't his fault. She ran for the door before he could react, slammed through it and down the hallway to the emergency stairs. Behind her, James was shouting into his phone, probably alerting Victor, definitely calling for backup. But she was already gone, taking stairs 2 at a time, bursting out into the morning sun. The black sedan was exactly where the caller said it would be. The back door opened as she approached. Scarlett took a breath and climbed inside. The man waiting for her was younger than she'd expected. Early 30s, expensively dressed, with cold eyes that assessed her like merchandise. 2 other men sat in the front seats, both armed. Miss Hayes, thank you for being reasonable. He gestured at the seat across from him. I'm Michael Valentino. I believe you've heard of my family. Her stomach dropped. You're the ones who hit Rossini's shipment. Guilty. And now we're in an unfortunate position. Victor DeLuca handed Marcus Chen to Rossini, which means our inside man is extremely dead. We need leverage to continue our Brooklyn expansion. You're going to be that leverage. Victor won't negotiate. Won't he? Michael smiled. He negotiated for Angela Russo. Offered us everything we wanted. He just gave it too late. The casual mention of Victor's dead fiancée made Scarlett's blood boil. You're the ones who killed her. My uncle, actually. I was just a soldier then. But I learned an important lesson. Victor DeLuca will sacrifice his business for someone he loves. He just needs the right motivation. Michael leaned forward. Tell me, Miss Hayes, what would he give up to get you back alive? Nothing. I'm just his assistant. Please. My uncle fell for that too. She's just my girlfriend. We're not that serious. Then we killed her and Victor burned our entire operation to ash. Michael's smile widened. But this time is different. This time we're not asking for territory. We're asking for something much simpler. What? Information. Victor handles logistics for half the families in New York. Shipment routes, warehouse locations, security protocols. We want it all. Every file, every contact, every piece of leverage he's collected over 15 years. Michael pulled out a tablet. You're going to call him. You're going to tell him you're safe, but you need him to send you his encrypted files. All of them. To this email address. He'll know something's wrong. Of course he will. But he'll do it anyway. Because the alternative is we start mailing him pieces of you. Scarlett's mouth went dry. And after he sends the files? After we verify they're authentic, you go free. We disappear into our new territories. Everyone walks away. Michael held out a phone. Call him. She took the phone with shaking hands. Victor's number was already dialed, waiting for her to press send. One call, and she'd be betraying everything he'd built. One call, and she'd be handing the Valentinos enough information to destroy not just Victor, but every family he worked with. One call, and she might live through this. Her finger hovered over the button. "You're assuming he'll choose me over his empire," she said quietly. "I'm counting on it." Michael checked his watch. "You have 30 seconds to make that call, Miss Hayes. Then we start with fingers. Victor can identify you by DNA if necessary." Scarlett pressed send. The phone rang once, twice. On the third ring, Victor answered. "Scarlett." His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "Where are you? James said you ran—" "I'm okay," she interrupted, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I'm safe, but I need you to do something for me." Silence. Then carefully, "What do you need?" "Your encrypted files. All of them. I need you to send them to—" She glanced at Michael, who mouthed an email address. She repeated it. "Can you do that?" Another pause. She could hear him breathing, could imagine him putting together what was happening. "Who's with you right now?" "It doesn't matter. Can you send the files?" "Scarlett, listen to me very carefully. Whatever they're threatening you with, don't believe it. I will find you. I will get you back. But I cannot give them those files." Michael gestured impatiently. Scarlett's throat tightened. "Victor, please. Those files contain information on 18 families. Sending them means everyone I've ever worked with becomes a target. Hundreds of people, their families, their operations." His voice was raw. "I can't trade all of them for you. I can't." "So that's it? You're just going to let them kill me?" "No, I'm going to find where they're holding you, and I'm going to burn down everything between us. But I need time. Can you buy me time?" Michael was already reaching for the phone, expression darkening. Scarlett made a split-second decision. "The Valentinos have me," she said quickly. "Michael Valentino. We're moving. I don't know where—" Michael ripped the phone away, ended the call. His backhand caught her across the face hard enough that her head snapped sideways. Pain exploded through her cheekbone. "That was stupid," he said coldly. "Change of plans. We're not waiting for Victor to play hero. We're taking what we need directly." He pulled out a gun, pressed it against her temple. "Where does Victor keep his backup files, the physical copies?" "I don't know." "Wrong answer." He cocked the gun. "Let's try again. Where are the files?" Scarlett's mind raced. She'd never seen physical files, didn't even know if they existed, but Michael clearly believed they did, which meant he had information from somewhere. Marcus Chen, probably, before Rossini's men finished with him. "There's a safe," she said, gambling, "in his office, behind the painting." "What's the combination?" "I don't have it, only Victor does." Michael studied her, then lowered the gun. "Fine. We'll get it from him directly. Tony, change of route. We're going to DeLuca Financial." The driver nodded. The sedan turned, heading back toward downtown. "You're going to walk us into that building," Michael said. "You're going to smile at security, use your credentials, get us to the 42nd floor. Any deviation from that plan, and I shoot everyone we pass on the way to Victor's office. Understood?" Scarlett nodded, tasting blood from her split lip. "Good girl." Michael checked his gun's magazine. "And who knows? If Victor cooperates, maybe everyone walks away from this. Wouldn't that be nice?" They both knew he was lying. The sedan pulled up to DeLuca Financial at 12:45. Lunch hour. The building was busy with people coming and going, oblivious to the violence about to enter. Michael kept his gun hidden under his jacket, pressed against Scarlett's ribs as they walked through the lobby. "Smile," he murmured. She did somehow. Waved at the security guard she saw every morning, swiped her badge at the turnstile. The lobby guard nodded at her, noticed nothing wrong. In the elevator, Michael's associate, Tony, stood behind her while Michael positioned himself where the cameras couldn't catch his weapon. 3 other people got on at the 15th floor. Michael kept the gun pressed against her spine, his other hand on her shoulder like they were colleagues having a casual conversation. The elevator dinged at 42. The doors opened to chaos. Every desk was empty, papers scattered across the floor like a tornado had torn through. And in the center of the reception area, Victor stood with a gun pointed at the elevator doors. "Get down!" he shouted. Scarlett dropped without thinking. Gunfire erupted over her head. Michael stumbled backward, clutching his shoulder. Tony raised his weapon, but Victor was faster. 2-shot center mass. The man crumpled. Michael grabbed Scarlett by her hair, dragged her up as a shield. His gun pressed against her throat. Back off, DeLuca, or she dies right here. Victor's gun didn't waver. Let her go, Michael. This is between us. Is it? Because it seems like you care a lot more about this one than the last. Angela begged, at the end. Begged us not to kill her. Said you'd come for her. Michael's breath was hot against Scarlett's ear. He didn't come fast enough. Will history repeat? Let her go. Make me. The standoff stretched. Scarlett could feel Michael's heart racing against her back, could smell gun oil and cologne and blood from his wounded shoulder. Victor's dark eyes met hers across the distance. She saw the calculation happening behind them, the same calculation he'd made with Angela. How much to risk, how much to sacrifice. She made the decision for him. Scarlett dropped her full weight, becoming dead weight in Michael's grip. He stumbled, gun hand lifting for just a second. It was all Victor needed. His shot took Michael in the knee. The man screamed, released her. Scarlett scrambled away on hands and knees. Victor was on Michael before he could recover, gun pressed against his forehead. You really should have learned from your uncle's mistakes. Do it, Michael spat through pain. You'll start a war you can't win. I've started wars before. Won them too. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Victor, wait. Scarlett found her voice, found her feet. If you kill him, the Valentinos won't stop. They'll come after everyone you know, everyone you work with. And if I let him live, they'll just try again. Then don't let him live, but don't kill him yourself either. She met Victor's eyes. You said you work with Rossini. Use him. Let him handle the Valentinos. That way it's not your war. Victor stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, he lowered his gun. Smart and ruthless. I'm either the luckiest man alive or the most doomed. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Salvatore, I have a gift for you. Michael Valentino. He's the one who compromised Marcus, hit your shipment, and just tried to rob my office. I figure you'll want to have a conversation with him about respect. Yes, my building. I'll have him wrapped up for you. He hung up, looked down at Michael, who'd gone pale. Rossini's creative with his interrogations. You'll beg to tell him everything about your family's operations before he's done. Then he'll use that information to dismantle the Valentinos piece by piece. Victor crouched down to Michael's level. Your uncle killed the woman I loved. You tried to kill the woman I'm falling for. Consider this karma. Security flooded in then, along with several of Victor's people she recognized from the private meetings. They hauled Michael and Tony's body away. Someone started cleaning the blood. The machinery of Victor's operation moving with practiced efficiency. Victor pulled Scarlett into his office, closed the door. Are you hurt? He hit me. I'm fine. Let me see. He tilted her face toward the light, his jaw clenched at the bruise already forming on her cheekbone. I'm going to kill him slowly for this. Rossini's already going to kill him slowly. Then I'll kill him again, slower. Victor pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. When James called, when he said you'd run, I thought I'd lost you. I thought Angela all over again. I'm sorry. He threatened to blow up the building. He had photos. He was watching. Shh. I know. James found the bomb. It was fake. Just a convincing prop and some good camera work. Victor's hand stroked her hair. But you didn't know that. You ran out to protect people. That's either brave or stupid. Can it be both? He laughed, but it was shaky. You called me from their car, gave me Valentino's name, told me you were moving. That gave me just enough time to evacuate the building and set up. If you hadn't done that... But I did. You did. He pulled back to look at her. You also told him there was a safe in my office. There isn't. I was buying time. By lying to a man holding a gun to your head. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? About as dangerous as everything else today? Scarlett touched his face. You were ready to sacrifice your files for me. After you said you couldn't. I lied. Victor's expression was raw. I was never going to let them kill you. I'd burn every bridge, betray every contact, destroy everything I've built before I'd let that happen, which is exactly why you're so dangerous to me. Because I make you vulnerable, because you make me human. He kissed her, desperate and fierce. And being human in this world gets you killed. Then we'll die human together. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Scarlett kissed him back. Victor, I love you. I know it's too soon. I know it's insane, but I just spent the morning thinking I'd never see you again, and I can't not say it. I love you. He stared at her like she'd grown a second head. You what? Love you. Present tense. Probably past tense too, if I'm honest. Maybe since that first meeting 3 years ago when you looked at me like I might actually be competent. Scarlett, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. Victor pressed his forehead against hers. I swore after Angela that I'd never say those words to anyone again, that I'd keep myself closed off, keep everyone at distance, that love was the most dangerous weapon anyone could use against me. He took a shaky breath. And then you sent me that damn photo and ruined everything. I'm sorry? Don't be. Because I love you too. So much that it terrifies me. So much that I evacuated my entire building and prepared to go to war with the Valentinos in the 40 minutes between your call and your arrival. So much that I'm seriously considering getting out of this business entirely because the thought of you getting hurt because of me makes me want to burn the world down. Scarlett's breath caught. You'd leave all this? For you? In a heartbeat. He cupped her face. But that's the problem. I can't just leave. Too many people depend on me. Too many families have me as their intermediary. Walking away means creating a power vacuum, and power vacuums get people killed. Then we figure it out together. She kissed his palm. I'm not going anywhere, even after today, especially after today. You really are insane. Completely. But so are you. We match. A knock on the door interrupted them. Victor's assistant, the legitimate one, poked her head in. Mr. Rossini's men just arrived for the package, and Detective Morrison is here. Says he needs to talk to you about the shooting. Of course he is, Victor sighed. Tell Morrison I'll be right down, and tell Rossini's people the gift is in conference room B, wrapped and ready. She left. Victor turned back to Scarlett. You need to go back to the safe house. This is about to get complicated with the police, and I don't want you anywhere near the official questions. I was here. I'm a witness. You were never here. James will back that up. The security footage from the elevator has already been edited. As far as anyone knows, the Valentino brothers tried to rob me. We had a shootout. Michael survived, and Tony didn't. Simple story. Nothing about this is simple. No. But the official version needs to be. He guided her toward the private elevator that led directly to the parking garage. James is waiting downstairs. He'll take you back. Stay there until I call. Victor, please, Scarlett. I need to know you're safe while I handle this. Can you do that for me? She wanted to argue, but the exhaustion was catching up with her, the adrenaline crash making her shaky. Okay, but you come back tonight. You promised. I'll be there. Kissed her once more. I love you, even though it's going to get us both killed. At least we'll die together. Still not funny. Still not joking. The elevator doors closed between them. Scarlett leaned against the wall, touching her split lip, feeling the ache in her cheekbone where Michael had hit her. 24 hours ago, she'd been sitting in this building thinking about expense reports. Now she'd been kidnapped, threatened, used as a human shield, and had confessed her love to a man who ran half of New York's underworld. Elena was going to have a field day with this. James was waiting in the garage as promised, his expression carefully neutral. Ma'am. I'm sorry, Scarlett said as she climbed into the car, for running, for putting you in that position. You did what you thought you had to do. That takes guts. He started the engine. For what it's worth, Victor's different with you. In 15 years, I've never seen him panic. But when I called to say you'd run, he lost it completely. That means something. It means I'm dangerous to him. It means you're important to him. There's a difference. James navigated out of the garage. The boss has been alone for a long time. Good to see him let someone in, even if the timing could be better. Is the timing ever good in this life? No, ma'am, it really isn't. Back at the safe house, Scarlett showered the day off her skin, changed into clean clothes, and tried to process everything. Her phone had 17 missed calls from Elena, 3 from her mother, and 1 from a number she didn't recognize. She ignored all of them except Elena. Where the hell have you been? Her sister demanded when she answered. I've been calling for hours. Long story. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. You sound like you've been through a war. Close enough. Scarlett collapsed onto the couch. Elena, I need to tell you something. If this is about your boss, I'm in love with him. And he's not just my boss, he's complicated. Complicated how? The kind of complicated where I got kidnapped this morning by a rival gang and he started a war to get me back. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? Scarlett told her everything. The promotion, the meetings, the night at the opera, the kiss, Marcus Chen, the Valentinos, Michael's gun against her head. All of it spilled out in a rush of words she couldn't stop. When she finished, Elena was quiet for a long time. Say something, Scarlett finally begged. I'm trying to decide if I should fly to New York to talk sense into you or accept that my sister has lost her mind. Elena exhaled slowly. Scar, this is insane. You could have died today. I know. And you're staying with him anyway. I am. Because you love him. Because I love him. And because walking away now doesn't make me safer. The Valentinos already know who I am. Leaving Victor just means I'm vulnerable without his protection. That's rationalization. That's reality. Scarlett pulled a blanket around herself. I'm in this now, for better or worse, and I need you to either support me or at least not fight me on it. Elena was quiet again. Then, softly, does he love you back? He says he does. Do you believe him? Scarlett thought about Victor's face when he'd found her in that elevator, the raw panic, the desperate relief, the way he'd held her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. Yeah, she said, I do. Then I guess I'm supporting you. But Scar, the minute this gets worse, the minute you're not safe, you call me. Promise. I promise. They talked for another hour, Elena filling her in on normal things, their mother's book club drama, the neighbor's terrible parking, a funny video she'd seen online. Normal things that felt surreal against the backdrop of Scarlett's new reality. When they finally hung up, darkness had settled over Manhattan. Scarlett watched the city lights through bulletproof windows, waiting for Victor to come back like he'd promised. He walked through the door at 11:30, looking exhausted. Scarlett was off the couch and in his arms before he could say anything. Hey, he murmured into her hair. I'm here. I'm okay. What happened with the police? Morrison, the detective, is now Morrison, the very cooperative detective. Turns out he has secrets too. The report will say the Valentinos attacked my building in a failed robbery attempt. Case closed. Victor pulled back to look at her. Rossini is handling Michael. By tomorrow morning, the Valentino family will be too busy dealing with internal collapse to worry about revenge. Just like that? Just like that. Rossini's efficient when he's motivated. Victor led her to the couch, pulled her down beside him. It's over, Scarlett. The immediate threat, anyway. And the next threat? Will come eventually. It always does. He tangled his fingers with hers. But we'll handle it. Together. Scarlett leaned into him, breathing in his scent, feeling his heartbeat steady against her. I told Elena everything. Everything? About you. About us. About this morning. How'd she take it? She thinks I'm insane, but she's supporting me anyway. That's what family does. Victor was quiet for a moment. I don't have family anymore. Haven't in years. It's just been me and the business. Well, now you have me. If you want. If I want? He laughed quietly. Scarlett, I started a war for you today. I think we're past the if I want stage. Good. She kissed his jaw. Because I'm not going anywhere. Even when the next crisis comes, even when it gets dangerous again. It will get dangerous again. I know. People will try to use you to hurt me. I know that too. And you're staying anyway. Yes. Victor pulled her fully into his lap, held her like she might disappear. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most foolish. Both. Definitely both. Scarlett touched his face. Take me to bed, Victor. We've earned it. He did, carrying her to the bedroom like she weighed nothing. And for the first time since that accidental photo 3 weeks ago, they were just two people who'd found each other in the chaos. No guns, no threats, no performance. Just them. Raw and real and desperately in love in a world that would absolutely try to destroy them for it. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, they had each other. And for now, that was enough. 3 weeks of peace felt like a lifetime and no time at all. Scarlett woke each morning in the Tribeca penthouse to Victor's arm around her waist, sunlight streaming through bulletproof glass, and the persistent feeling that she was living in the eye of a hurricane. Calm now. Chaos waiting just beyond the edges. She'd moved back into Victor's office officially, no longer pretending their relationship was purely professional. The corporate staff knew better than to comment. The private meeting attendees simply accepted her presence beside Victor as natural. She'd become part of the landscape of his empire, visible and untouchable in equal measure. But something was shifting. She felt it in the way Victor's phone calls grew longer, more tense, in the way Rossini's name came up more frequently, in the silences that stretched between them at night when Victor stared at the ceiling instead of sleeping. "You're thinking too loud," she murmured one night, her head on his chest. "I can hear the gears turning." "Sorry." His hand traced patterns on her shoulder. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing. You've barely slept in 4 days." Victor was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Rossini wants to meet. Tomorrow. Says it's important." "Is that unusual?" "We meet regularly. But he specifically requested you be there. That's unusual." Scarlett lifted her head to look at him. "Why would he want me there?" "That's what concerns me." Victor's jaw was tight. "Rossini doesn't do anything without reason. If he's asking for you specifically, he has a play in mind." "What kind of play?" "I don't know yet, but I don't like it." He pulled her closer. "You don't have to come. I can tell him you're unavailable." "And look weak or like I'm something you're hiding?" Scarlett shook her head. "No, if he wants to see me, let him see me. I'm not going to be the vulnerability you have to protect from view." "You're not a vulnerability. Then stop treating me like one." She kissed his jaw. "I can handle Salvatore Rossini." "That's what worries me." The meeting was set for noon at the same Little Italy social club where Marcus Chen had screamed his last hours away. Scarlett dressed carefully, professional but not corporate, expensive but not flashy. The kind of outfit that said she belonged in this world without screaming about it. Victor was quieter than usual in the car. His hand found hers, held tight. "Whatever happens in there," he said as they pulled up to the club, "follow my lead. Rossini's testing something. I just don't know what yet." The interior was familiar now. Dim lighting, old men playing cards, the scent of cigar smoke and espresso. Rossini sat at his usual table, but this time he wasn't alone. 2 other men occupied chairs to his left. One she didn't recognize, the other made her stomach drop. Carson Webb, Manhattan District Attorney. She'd seen his face on the news, heard his campaign promises about cleaning up organized crime. What the hell was he doing at Salvatore Rossini's table? "Victor, Miss Hayes," Rossini gestured to the empty chairs. "Please, sit. You know Carson, of course." By reputation, Victor's voice was carefully neutral as he pulled out Scarlett's chair. "Though I wasn't aware you two were acquainted. Carson and I have certain mutual interests." Rossini poured wine into 4 glasses. "He's been very helpful with some recent legal complications." Webb smiled thinly. "Mr. Rossini has been generous in supporting my initiatives. We both want a safer New York." The doublespeak was thick enough to choke on. Scarlett kept her expression blank, but her mind raced. The DA was on Rossini's payroll, which meant Victor's entire operation existed at the mercy of a prosecutor who could flip on them at any moment. "I wasn't aware this was a social call," Victor said. "You mentioned important business, Salvatore." "Indeed." Rossini's eyes settled on Scarlett. "Tell me, Miss Hayes, how are you enjoying your new position? Senior executive assistant must be quite different from your previous role." "It has its challenges," she said carefully. "I imagine, especially given recent events, the Valentino situation must have been frightening." "It was handled, yes, quite efficiently." Rossini sipped his wine. "Victor tells me you were instrumental in resolving that conflict, brave, staying calm under such pressure." Warning bells went off in Scarlett's head. Rossini didn't make small talk. Every word was positioning. "I did what needed to be done," she said. "Admirable. That kind of composure is rare, especially in someone so young." Rossini set down his glass. "Which brings me to why I asked you here. I have a proposition." Victor's hand tightened on his armrest. "What kind of proposition?" "Not for you, for Miss Hayes." Rossini leaned forward. I need someone I can trust to handle certain administrative matters. Someone smart, discreet, capable of managing complex logistics without asking uncomfortable questions. Someone who's already proven herself under pressure. You want to hire her? Victor's voice was flat. I want to borrow her. 3 months. She works for me directly, handling coordination between my various interests and Carson's office. Legal matters mostly. Document management, scheduling, ensuring certain communications happen smoothly. No, Victor said immediately. I haven't finished. Rossini's tone hardened slightly. In exchange for Miss Hayes' temporary services, several things happen. First, Carson here ensures that the recent investigation into DeLuca Financial's accounting practices quietly disappears. Second, the territory dispute in Red Hook gets resolved in your favor permanently. Third, I personally guarantee that what remains of the Valentino family will never touch your operations again. Scarlett's breath caught. He was offering Victor everything he needed to consolidate power. All it would cost was 3 months of her working directly for the most dangerous man in New York. She's not for sale, Victor said. I'm not buying her. I'm requesting a favor. Among partners. Rossini's smile didn't reach his eyes. Unless you'd prefer I rescind my partnership entirely. I'm sure the other families would be very interested in absorbing your territories once I'm no longer providing protection. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Victor's expression was carved from stone, but Scarlett could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Without Rossini's backing, he'd be vulnerable to every syndicate in the city. With it, he could cement his position for years, and all it would cost was trusting Rossini with the woman he loved. I need to speak with Miss Hayes privately, Victor said. Of course, take your time. Rossini gestured to a door at the back. The office is available. Victor stood, offered his hand to Scarlett. They walked to the back room in silence. The moment the door closed, he turned to her. You're not doing this. Shouldn't I have a say in that? Scarlett crossed her arms. No, because I know what this is. Rossini doesn't need an assistant. He needs leverage. He wants you close so he can use you against me whenever it's convenient. Or he actually does need someone to manage coordination with the DA. You said yourself that Rossini's operation is massive. Maybe he genuinely needs help. Scarlett, what if I want to do it? She met his eyes. What if I think 3 months working for Rossini is worth securing your position permanently? You can't be serious. Why not? You've spent 15 years building this empire. One favor, 3 months of my time, and you get everything you need to make it untouchable. That sounds like a good deal to me. Victor grabbed her shoulders. He killed Marcus Chen with bolt cutters. He's killed dozens of people. If you make one mistake, if you see something you shouldn't, if you become inconvenient, then I'll be careful not to make mistakes. Scarlett touched his face. Victor, I'm not helpless. I've been in your world for weeks now. I know how to navigate it. Not his world. Mine is dangerous. His is lethal. There's a difference. And if we say no, what happens to your business when Rossini pulls his support? Victor's hands dropped. He turned away, ran his fingers through his hair. I can rebuild. It'll take time. I'll lose territory, but I can rebuild. How many people die while you're rebuilding? How many of your people get caught in the crossfire when the other families sense weakness? Don't. His voice was rough. Don't make this about protecting others when what I care about is protecting you. Then protect me by trusting me. Scarlett moved in front of him, forced him to look at her. I'm not Angela. I'm not going to break because things get dangerous. And I'm not going to let you sacrifice everything you've built because you're afraid of losing me. I am afraid of losing you. I know. But you're going to lose me anyway if you keep trying to lock me away from the parts of your life that matter. She took his hands. Let me do this. 3 months. I'll be careful. I'll stay in contact, and when it's over, you'll have everything you need to keep us both safe long term. Victor stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled her against him, held her so tight it hurt. I hate this. I hate everything about this. I know. If anything happens to you, it won't. You can't promise that. Neither can you, but we're doing this anyway. She pulled back. Together, right? That's what we said. He kissed her then, desperate and fierce. When he finally pulled away, his eyes were dark with something that looked like grief. 3 months. But we set conditions. You check in daily. You have a panic code. And the second anything feels wrong, you're out, non-negotiable. Deal. They walked back to the main room. Rossini looked up expectantly. We accept your proposition, Victor said, with conditions. I'm listening. Miss Hayes remains on my payroll. She reports to you, but she's not your employee. She has full autonomy to refuse assignments she deems inappropriate, and she maintains regular contact with me, daily, minimum. Rossini considered this. Acceptable, though I reserve the right to request confidentiality on certain matters. Define certain. Matters involving active legal proceedings or sensitive negotiations. Standard business discretion. Rossini's smile was sharp. I'm not asking her to betray you, Victor. I'm asking her to help me navigate a complex relationship with Carson's office, something that benefits us both. Then we have a deal. Victor's voice was ice. But understand this, Salvatore. If anything happens to her while she's under your watch, our partnership ends, along with several other things. Is that a threat? It's a guarantee. Rossini laughed. I like her even more now. She's made you downright human. He raised his glass. To new partnerships. May they be profitable for all involved. Scarlett raised her glass, met Victor's eyes across the table, and drank. The wine tasted like ash and poor decisions. She started the next Monday. Rossini's headquarters turned out to be a legitimate import-export business in Staten Island with offices that looked like any other corporate space, except the security was military grade and half the employees carried weapons under their suit jackets. Her office was small but functional, directly adjacent to Rossini's. The stack of files waiting on her desk was 3 feet high. Welcome to organized chaos, said the woman who showed her in. Maria, Rossini's longtime secretary, was in her 50s with sharp eyes and an accent that said she'd been with the family for decades. Most of this is coordination files, meeting schedules, shipment logs, contact information. Your job is to make sense of it and create a streamlined communication system between us and the DA's office. That's it? Scarlett set down her bag. Just scheduling and coordination? Maria's expression was unreadable. That's the official job description. The unofficial one is whatever Mr. Rossini asks you to do on any given day. My advice? Don't ask questions you don't want answered. Do the work, keep your head down, and remember that you're only here for 3 months. She left before Scarlett could respond. The first week was surprisingly mundane. Scarlett organized files, created databases, established protocols for secure communication between Rossini's office and Carson Webb's staff. It was administrative work that could have been done by anyone with half a brain and decent Excel skills, which meant it absolutely wasn't the real reason Rossini wanted her there. The second week, things got more interesting. Rossini called her into his office on a Wednesday afternoon, Carson Webb already sitting across from him. Miss Hayes, good. We need your help with a delicate matter. Rossini gestured to a file on his desk. Carson is prosecuting a case against the Moretti family. Fraud, racketeering, the usual. He needs certain evidence to secure a conviction. What kind of evidence? Scarlett asked carefully. Financial records, specifically records of transactions between Moretti operations and several shell companies. Records that currently exist in a warehouse in Queens. Rossini met her eyes. I need you to coordinate the retrieval of those records and their delivery to Carson's office. Quietly. You want me to steal documents from the Morettis? I want you to facilitate evidence collection for a legitimate prosecution, Carson corrected. The documents are stored in a property that Mr. Rossini has legal access to. We're simply ensuring they reach the proper authorities. The doublespeak again. Scarlett was being asked to help frame the Morettis, or possibly expose actual crimes, she couldn't tell which. Either way, it was illegal and dangerous. What does Victor say about this, she asked. Victor doesn't need to know, Rossini said. This falls under the confidentiality clause we discussed, unless you'd like me to share details of his recent financial restructuring with Carson's investigative team. There it was. The leverage. Do this, or Victor's operation gets scrutinized. When do you need this done? Scarlett's voice was steady despite the anger building in her chest. Friday night. The warehouse will be minimally staffed. Maria will provide you with details. Rossini smiled. I knew I could count on you, Miss Hayes. She left his office fighting the urge to call Victor immediately, but Rossini would be watching for that. Whatever she did, she needed to be smarter than he expected. That night, back at the penthouse, Victor took one look at her face and knew something was wrong. What happened? Rossini asked me to do something I can't tell you about because of the confidentiality clause. Victor's expression darkened. What kind of something? The kind that makes me wonder if I made a mistake accepting this deal. Scarlett paced the living room. He's not just using me for coordination. He's using me for things he doesn't want traced back to him. Then you're done. We walk away, deal with the consequences. We can't. He made it clear that backing out means problems for you. She stopped pacing, faced him. Victor, I need you to trust me to handle this, even if I can't tell you what this is. He stared at her for a long moment. I don't like this. I don't either, but it's only 3 months. I can survive 3 months. That's what I'm afraid of. That you'll survive but come out the other side changed, harder, more like us. Victor pulled her close. I don't want this world to break you. It won't. I'm tougher than I look. I know you are. That's what scares me. Friday night found Scarlett in the passenger seat of a car driven by one of Rossini's men, heading toward a warehouse in Queens she'd never heard of. Maria had provided her with access codes, a manifest of what to retrieve, and a timetable that left no room for error. You know what you're doing? The driver asked. His name was Paolo, and he'd been with Rossini's family for 20 years. Get in, find the files marked with red tabs, get out, simple. Nothing's ever simple with the boss. Keep your eyes open. The warehouse was exactly as described. Minimal security, most of the staff gone for the weekend. Scarlett used the code, slipped inside, found the storage section Maria had marked on her map. The files were there exactly where they should be. Tax documents, wire transfer records, shipping manifests. Everything Carson Webb would need to prosecute the Morettis for financial crimes that would put them away for decades. She was loading them into the bag Maria had provided when she heard voices. Scarlett froze. The manifest had said the warehouse would be empty. She ducked behind a shelf, breathing as quietly as possible. Told you, the shipment doesn't arrive until Monday. Male voice, annoyed. Then why did Sal want us to check the storage tonight? Different voice, younger, because Sal doesn't trust anybody. Come on, let's make this quick. I got places to be. Footsteps heading in her direction. Scarlett looked around frantically. No exits except the one they were coming from. The files were half loaded, still scattered on the floor where she'd been working. She made a split-second decision. Instead of hiding, she stood up, straightened her jacket, and walked toward the voices like she had every right to be there. Can I help you? She asked as they came around the corner. Both men stopped, stared. The older one's hand went to his waistband, gun, probably. Who the hell are you? Scarlett Hayes. I work for Mr. Rossini. He sent me to retrieve some documents. She kept her voice bored like this was routine. Maria called ahead. Didn't you get the memo? The men exchanged glances. The younger one pulled out his phone, made a call. Yeah, it's Tony. There's a girl here, says she's from Rossini's office. Hayes, yeah. Okay. He hung up. You're clear, but next time give us more notice. Nearly shot you. I'll mention it to Maria. Scarlett turned back to the files like her heart wasn't hammering out of her chest. This'll take another 10 minutes if you want to wait. Make it 5. We got rounds to finish. They left. Scarlett finished loading the files with shaking hands, forced herself to walk out of that warehouse at a normal pace instead of running. Paulo was waiting in the car, engine running. Got 'em? He asked as she climbed in. All of them. Good. Boss will be pleased. Back at Rossini's office, she delivered the files to his desk. He looked through them briefly, nodded. Excellent work, Miss Hayes. Carson will be very happy. Your men almost shot me. But they didn't, because you were smart enough to talk your way out instead of hiding. Rossini's smile was approving. Victor chose well with you. Most people panic when confronted. You performed. I'd prefer not to perform getting shot at. Then you're in the wrong business. He closed the file. Go home. Get some rest. Monday we start on a new project. Scarlett left without responding, her mind already racing. She'd just helped rig a federal prosecution. She'd stolen documents, lied to armed men, and delivered evidence that would destroy an entire crime family. And the worst part was how easy it had been. Victor was waiting up when she got home, despite the late hour. He took one look at her and pulled her into his arms. You smell like warehouse dust and fear, he said into her hair. That's because I was in a warehouse and terrified. She held him tight. It's done. Whatever Rossini needed tonight, it's done. Can you tell me what it was? No, but it wasn't the last thing he's going to ask for. This is just the beginning. She pulled back to look at him. I think I understand now why you kept trying to protect me from this world. It's one thing to watch it happen, it's another to participate. Do you want out? We can still walk away. Scarlett thought about the files she'd just delivered, about Carson Webb, who would use them to prosecute the Morettis, about Rossini's approval and the price it came at. No, she said finally. I finish what I started. But Victor, when this is over, we need to talk about getting out. Both of us. Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe? Or relief. You mean that? I mean that. 3 months with Rossini, then we start planning our exit, together. He kissed her then, slow and deep. When they finally made it to bed, he held her like she might disappear. And Scarlett let him because part of her was afraid she might. That 3 months with Salvatore Rossini would change her into someone Victor wouldn't recognize. Someone she wouldn't recognize. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, she was still herself. Still the woman who'd accidentally sent a photo and changed everything. Still capable of love in a world built on violence. She just hoped that would still be true in 3 months. The weeks bled together. Scarlett coordinated evidence drops, scheduled clandestine meetings between Rossini and Webb, managed logistics for operations she didn't want to know the details of. She got good at reading situations, at knowing when to ask questions and when to stay silent. She learned the difference between the families, who was allied with whom, where the pressure points were. She became exactly what Rossini needed, efficient, discreet, unshakable. And Victor watched her change with something that looked like grief. You're different, he said one night, 6 weeks into her term with Rossini. They were in bed, the city lights casting shadows across his face. Different how? Harder. More careful with your words. You don't laugh as much. His hand traced her collarbone. It's like watching you put on armor I can't get through. Maybe that's what survival looks like. Maybe. Or maybe Rossini's doing exactly what I was afraid he'd do, making you more like us. Scarlett didn't have an answer for that, because he was right. She felt it happening, the slow calcification of her conscience, the way moral lines that used to be clear now blurred into gray. She was becoming someone who could deliver files that would destroy families without flinching, someone who could lie to armed men without hesitation, someone who understood power in ways she never had before, someone dangerous. I miss you, Victor said quietly. Even though you're right here, I miss the woman who sent me that photo. The one who laughed at the opera, even though she'd never been before. The one who was scared, but stayed anyway. She's still here. Is she? Because I'm not sure anymore. The words hit harder than any accusation. Scarlett rolled to face him fully. What are you saying? Are you? I'm saying maybe I was wrong. Maybe keeping you at distance was the right call after all. Because bringing you into this world has changed you, and I don't know if we can get back what we had before. You're breaking up with me. Her voice was flat. I'm saying I'm terrified that the woman I fell in love with is disappearing and I don't know how to stop it. Victor's eyes were dark with pain. And I'm wondering if the best thing I can do for you is let you go before you're too far gone to find your way back. Scarlett sat up, anger flooding through her. You don't get to make that choice for me. You asked me to do this. You agreed to Rossini's deal. And now that I'm actually surviving it, you want to bail because I'm not staying soft enough for you? That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. You want me in your world, but you want me unchanged by it. That's not possible, Victor. You can't have both. Maybe I can't have either. He sat up too, ran his hands through his hair. Maybe this whole thing was a mistake from the beginning. You should be with someone normal. Someone who doesn't get you kidnapped or force you to work for monsters or put you in situations where you have to choose between your morals and survival. Stop it. I'm serious, Scarlett. You deserve better than this. Better than me. And what I want doesn't matter? What you want is killing the person you used to be. The words hung between them like broken glass. Scarlett climbed out of bed, grabbed her robe. I need air. Scarlett, Don't. She held up a hand. Just don't. I can't do this right now. She walked out onto the penthouse balcony, the cold November air biting through her robe. Below, Manhattan glittered with millions of lives being lived, millions of people who weren't standing on a balcony questioning whether the person they loved still recognized them. Victor came out a few minutes later, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. They stood in silence, not touching. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "That came out wrong." "Did it? Or did you just say what you've been thinking for weeks?" "Both." He leaned against the railing. "I hate what this world does to people. I hate what it's done to me. And watching it happen to you is worse than anything I've ever experienced." Then we get out, both of us. We finish with Rossini, we take the security he's offering, and we leave. Start over somewhere else. And do what? I've been in this life since I was 23. I don't know how to be anything else. Then you learn. We both learn. Scarlett turned to face him. But we do it together. That's what you promised me. Together. Victor pulled her close, rested his chin on her head. What if I can't give you the life you deserve? What if I don't want the life I deserve? What if I just want you, messy and complicated and dangerous as you are? Then you're even crazier than I thought. Completely insane. It's why we work. They stood there as the city hummed below, holding on to each other against the cold. And Scarlett thought about the next 6 weeks, about whatever Rossini had planned, about the person she was becoming, and whether that person could still love and be loved. She didn't have answers, but she had Victor's arms around her and the stubborn certainty that whatever was coming, they'd face it together, even if it destroyed them both. Monday morning, Rossini called her into his office with Carson Webb and 2 men she didn't recognize. The atmosphere was different, tense in a way that made her instincts scream. "Miss Hayes, thank you for joining us." Rossini gestured to the empty chair. "We have a situation that requires your particular skills." "What situation?" "There's going to be an incident Wednesday night, a warehouse fire in Red Hook. Purely accidental, of course. Bad wiring, safety violations, tragic but unavoidable." His eyes held hers. "Unfortunately, certain evidence currently stored in that warehouse needs to be relocated before the accident occurs. Evidence that Carson's office will need for an upcoming grand jury hearing." Scarlett's stomach dropped. "You're asking me to help you burn down a building." "I'm asking you to coordinate evidence preservation before an unfortunate accident destroys potential criminal cases. What happens to the building after you've secured the evidence is separate." Rossini's smile was thin. "You have 48 hours to retrieve the materials and deliver them to Carson's secured location. Can you do that?" Every instinct screamed to say no, to walk out, call Victor, end this before it went too far. But Rossini's expression made it clear that wasn't an option, and the 2 men she didn't recognize looked like they knew how to make problems disappear. "I can do that," Scarlett heard herself say. "Excellent. Maria has the details." Rossini dismissed her with a wave. Outside his office, Maria was waiting with another file. The warehouse is owned by the Chen family. Marcus's cousins took over after his death. They're using it to store evidence of their own crimes, assuming it's safe because no one knows to look there. You're going to change that. And the fire will destroy whatever you don't take, along with the building's records of what was stored there. Clean slate. Maria's expression was unreadable. "This is bigger than the Moretti job, Miss Hayes. Do it right, and Rossini will owe you. Do it wrong, and you're just another loose end to tie up." Scarlett took the file with numb fingers. She'd crossed lines before. Stolen files, manipulated evidence, lied to federal prosecutors. But this was different. This was premeditated destruction. This was being complicit in arson and whatever happened to anyone who might be in that building Wednesday night. This was the moment she stopped being Scarlett Hayes and became something else entirely. She called Victor from a burner phone Maria had provided. "I need you to trust me," she said when he answered. "Something's happening Wednesday night, something bad. I can't tell you what, but I need you to make sure you're nowhere near Red Hook, and make sure everyone you care about is nowhere near there either." "Scarlett, what are you talking about? Please, just trust me. Wednesday night, stay away from Red Hook. Can you do that?" Silence. Then, "Are you in danger?" "I'm in control, but only if you trust me and stay away. I'm going to kill Rossini." "Not yet, 6 more weeks. Then you can kill whoever you want. Her voice cracked slightly. I love you. Remember that, okay? Whatever happens, remember I love you. Scarlett, she hung up, stared at the phone for a long moment. Then she dropped it in a trash can and walked back into Rossini's office to plan her first arson. Wednesday night arrived too fast and not fast enough. Scarlett stood in a parking lot 3 blocks from the Chen warehouse, watching Paolo and 2 other men load boxes into a truck. The evidence she'd retrieved, more financial records, more proof of crimes, more ammunition for Carson Webb's endless prosecutions. Behind them, smoke began to rise from the warehouse. Someone had set the fire early. The building was going up faster than planned. We need to go, Paolo said, before the fire department gets here. But Scarlett couldn't move. She stood watching the flames climb higher, consuming the building, destroying evidence and secrets and whatever else had been inside, destroying the last pieces of who she used to be. Miss Hayes, we need to go now. She climbed into the truck. They drove away as sirens screamed in the distance, and Scarlett watched the orange glow in the rearview mirror, knowing she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. Victor was waiting when she got back to the penthouse, despite her instructions to stay away. He took one look at her face and knew. What did you do? He asked quietly. What I had to. Her voice was hollow. The Chen warehouse is gone. Everything in it, along with whatever evidence could have connected Rossini to a dozen different crimes. You helped him. I did. Victor grabbed her shoulders. Scarlett, arson is federal. If anyone connects you to that fire, they won't. I was never there. The evidence I retrieved was already documented as seized in a previous raid. The fire was accidental, bad wiring. No one will look deeper. She pulled away from him. I learned from the best, remember? You taught me how to cover tracks. I taught you to survive, not to become one of them. Maybe there's no difference anymore. Scarlett walked to the window, stared out at the city. 6 more weeks. Then this is over. Can you wait 6 more weeks before you decide I'm too far gone? I don't think you're too far gone. I think you're drowning and I don't know how to save you. Then don't save me. Just be there when I come up for air. She turned to face him. That's all I need. Someone to be there at the end. Victor crossed the room, pulled her into his arms. I'll be there, even if we're both different people by then. They held each other as the night deepened around them. And somewhere in Red Hook, firefighters battled a blaze that would be ruled accidental, just another tragedy in a city full of them. No one would ever know Scarlett Hayes had been there, that she'd helped orchestrate it, that she'd become exactly the kind of person she used to fear. But she knew, and that knowledge sat in her chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. 6 more weeks, then freedom, then a chance to become human again, if there was anything human left to save. The call came at 3 in the morning, 4 weeks into Scarlett's arrangement with Rossini. She jolted awake to Victor's phone buzzing violently on the nightstand, his arm already reaching for it before his eyes were fully open. What? Not a question, a demand. Scarlett watched his face go from sleepy to stone in seconds. He sat up, every muscle tensing. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He was out of bed before he hung up, pulling on clothes in the dark. What happened? Scarlett asked, already knowing it was bad from the set of his shoulders. Someone hit my shipment. 3 of my men are dead. Victor's voice was flat, controlled. The tone he used when he was fighting not to explode. 2 others missing. The cargo's gone. Which shipment? The one I didn't tell Rossini about. He stopped, turned to look at her. The one only 5 people knew existed. Me, the 3 dead men, and Marcus's cousin, who's been running independent operations since Marcus died. Scarlett's stomach dropped. You think it was him? I think someone talked, and the list of people who could have known is very, very short. He grabbed his gun from the safe, checked the magazine. Stay here. Don't leave the penthouse until I call you. Victor, I mean it, Scarlett. If someone's leaking information about my operations, I need to know you're somewhere safe while I figure out who. He kissed her hard, fast. I'll call you in a few hours. He was gone before she could argue. Scarlett sat in the dark apartment, her mind racing. A leak in Victor's operation meant someone was feeding information to his enemies. Someone close enough to know about shipments he kept off the books. And if Victor suspected Marcus's cousin, that meant he suspected the Chen family of betraying him after he'd handed Marcus to Rossini. Which would make sense if they knew Victor had been the one to expose Marcus. If they knew their cousin had died screaming in Rossini's basement because Victor had delivered him there. She grabbed her phone, started to call Victor, then stopped. He was walking into what could be a trap. If the Chens wanted revenge, they'd use this leak to draw him out. And he was going anyway because 3 of his men were dead, and his reputation required a response. The smart thing would be to stay in the penthouse like he'd asked. Stay safe. Stay out of it. Scarlett was dressed and out the door in 5 minutes. She knew where Victor kept his secondary operation, a warehouse in the Bronx that handled cargo he didn't want traced to DeLuca Financial. She'd been there once, early in her time working his private calendar. The address was burned into her memory. The Uber driver gave her strange looks in the rearview mirror, but didn't ask questions about why a woman in expensive clothes wanted to go to an industrial area at 3:30 in the morning. She tipped him extra to forget he'd ever seen her. The warehouse was dark except for a single light in the office section. Victor's Mercedes sat in the lot alongside 3 other cars she didn't recognize. Scarlett approached carefully, every instinct screaming that this was a terrible idea. The side door was unlocked. She slipped inside, following the sound of voices to the main floor. Victor stood in the center of the warehouse, surrounded by 6 of his men. On the floor in front of him, zip-tied and bleeding, was Daniel Chen, Marcus's younger cousin, the one who'd taken over the Chen family operations. "I'm going to ask you one more time," Victor was saying, his voice terrifyingly calm. "Who did you sell the information to?" "I didn't sell anything," Daniel spat blood on the concrete. "You're paranoid, DeLuca. Your own operation is falling apart and you're blaming me? My operation was fine until 3 of my people got executed tonight. Executed at a location only you and I knew about." Victor crouched down to Daniel's level. "So either you talked or someone in your organization talked. Either way, you're responsible. Maybe your girlfriend talked. I hear she's real cozy with Rossini these days." The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Victor's gun was against Daniel's temple before Scarlett could blink. "Say that again?" "Everyone knows she's working for Rossini. 3 months, direct access to all his operations, all his contacts. You really think that's about administrative work?" Daniel laughed, ugly and sharp. "She's probably feeding him everything about your business, setting you up for a takeover." "You're wrong!" But Victor's voice carried a thread of doubt that made Scarlett's blood freeze. "Am I? When's the last time you had a private conversation with her that Rossini couldn't have been listening to? When's the last time she did something for you that didn't benefit him?" Daniel's eyes found Scarlett in the shadows by the door. "Ask her yourself. She's right there." Every head turned. Victor's expression when he saw her was unreadable. "I told you to stay at the penthouse," he said quietly. "I know." Scarlett stepped into the light. "I was worried about you." "How convenient." Daniel's smile was cruel. "She just happened to show up at your secret warehouse, the one you didn't tell her about, almost like someone gave her the address." "Shut up," Victor said, but he didn't holster his gun. "She's been working for Rossini for weeks, coordinating his operations, handling his evidence collection, running his errands. You really think he's not using her to get inside your head, inside your business?" Daniel shifted his weight, wincing. "Wake up, DeLuca. She's the leak. She's been the leak since the day she started with him." "That's not true." Scarlett's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Victor, you know that's not true. Do I?" He stood, and the distance between them felt like miles. "You've been keeping secrets from me for weeks. Confidentiality clauses, private assignments, things you can't tell me about. How do I know you haven't been reporting everything back to Rossini?" "Because I love you." "Angela loved me too. Didn't stop the Morettis from using her." The comparison hit like a physical blow. Scarlett forced herself to stay calm. "I'm not Angela, and I'm not working against you. Yes, I've done things for Rossini I can't talk about. But none of it involved your operations. None of it was about hurting you." "Then how did Daniel know to hit my shipment tonight?" Victor's eyes were dark, searching her face for something. "How did anyone know it existed if you didn't tell them?" "I don't know. But it wasn't me." She took a step toward him. "Victor, please, you know me. You know I wouldn't betray you." "I thought I knew you. But you've changed. You said it yourself. Survival changes people. His jaw clenched. Maybe you changed into someone who picked Rossini's side over mine. That's insane, is it? Because from where I'm standing, you've been spending more time in Rossini's world than mine, taking his assignments, following his orders, keeping his secrets. At what point does that become collaboration? Scarlett felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. If you really believe that, then shoot me, right now. Put me on the floor next to Daniel and execute us both for betraying you. Don't tempt me. I'm not tempting you. I'm calling your bluff. She spread her arms. You think I'm the leak? Prove it. Show me one piece of evidence that I've given Rossini anything about your operations. One communication, one meeting, one file. Show me. Victor stared at her. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. I can't, he finally said, because there isn't any. Because I haven't betrayed you. Scarlett's voice cracked. But the fact that you even considered it tells me everything I need to know about where we stand. Scarlett, no, don't. She backed toward the door. You want to know what Rossini has me doing? Fine, I'll break confidentiality. I've been coordinating evidence collection for federal prosecutions, stealing files, arranging raids, setting up crime families to fall so Rossini can absorb their territories. It's disgusting, and it's illegal, and it makes me hate myself every single day. But not once, not one single time did I give him information about you. The warehouse fire, Victor said. The Chen warehouse. You were involved in that. I was. And I warned you to stay away from Red Hook that night, to keep everyone you cared about away. Because even while I was doing Rossini's dirty work, I was protecting you. She reached the door, hand on the handle. But clearly that's not enough, so I'm done. You figure out who your real leak is, and when you do, you come find me and apologize. She was out the door before he could respond. The cold November air hit her like a slap. Scarlett walked 3 blocks before her legs gave out, and she had to sit on a curb, shaking with adrenaline and rage and heartbreak. She'd just confessed to federal crimes in front of 6 witnesses to prove her loyalty to a man who didn't believe her anyway. Her phone buzzed. Victor's name on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again and again. She turned it off. A car pulled up beside her. For one wild moment, she thought it was Victor coming after her. Then the window rolled down and Maria's face appeared. Get in, Miss Hayes. I'm not in the mood for whatever Rossini wants. Good. Because this isn't about what he wants. It's about what you need. Maria's expression was sharp. Get in the car before you freeze to death on a street corner in the Bronx. Scarlett didn't have the energy to argue. She climbed in. Maria drove in silence for several blocks before speaking. You broke confidentiality. I know. Rossini's going to be very unhappy about that. I don't care. You should. Men like him don't forgive breaches of trust. Maria turned onto the highway. But between you and me, you did the right thing. That boy was playing you against each other. Scarlett's head snapped up. Daniel? Daniel Chen has been feeding information to the Moretti family for 3 months, trying to start a war between Rossini and De Luca so he can pick up the pieces after they destroy each other. Maria's hands were steady on the wheel. Rossini knew. He's been waiting for the right moment to expose it. Why didn't he tell Victor? Because watching how you both reacted would tell him something useful. If you broke under pressure and actually betrayed De Luca, Rossini would know you couldn't be trusted. If you held firm and De Luca believed you, Rossini would know you two were solid. Maria glanced at her. What actually happened was more interesting. You proved your loyalty and De Luca doubted you anyway. That's valuable information. For what? For knowing that Victor De Luca's weak spot isn't you loving him. It's him not trusting that you do. Maria's smile was thin. That's the kind of intelligence Rossini pays for. Scarlett felt sick. This was all a test. Everything's always a test with men like him. The question is whether you passed. Maria pulled up in front of Rossini's office. Come on, the boss wants to see you. It's 4 a.m, and you just confessed to arson in front of witnesses. Time doesn't really matter at this point. Rossini's office was lit despite the hour. He sat behind his desk, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when Maria ushered Scarlett in. Miss Hayes, thank you for coming. He gestured to a chair. Maria, give us the room. Maria left. Scarlett sat, too tired to be afraid. You broke our confidentiality agreement, Rossini said. Not angry, just stating a fact. I did. Why? Because Victor thought I was betraying him. The only way to prove I wasn't was to tell him what I've actually been doing. And in doing so, you exposed operations that could implicate me in multiple federal crimes. Rossini set down his tablet. That's a problem, Miss Hayes. So kill me. Everyone else seems to be considering it tonight. He laughed, actually laughed. I'm not going to kill you. You're too valuable. But we do need to address the breach. What kind of address? The kind where you finish your term with me exactly as agreed. 3 months. We're 2/3 of the way there. 1 more month, then you're free. He leaned back in his chair. But the people you told tonight, they need to understand that what they heard doesn't leave that warehouse. You want me to threaten Victor's men. I want you to go back to that warehouse and make it clear that anyone who repeats what you said will have problems they can't solve. You work for me. That means my protection extends to you. It also means my consequences extend to anyone who makes you vulnerable. Scarlett stared at him. You're using this to establish dominance over Victor's operation. I'm using this to protect an asset. You. Rossini's expression was unreadable. Like it or not, Miss Hayes, you're under my authority for the next month. That means I decide who knows what about your activities. And I've decided Victor's men don't get to carry that information around. And if I refuse, then I withdraw my protection from you and from Victor. The information about his leak becomes public. The Morettis learn that Daniel Chen has been working with them. War breaks out. People die. Rossini shrugged. Your choice. It wasn't a choice at all. Scarlett rode back to the warehouse with Maria, a script in her head that Rossini had made her memorize. When she walked back through that door, Victor was still there. Daniel still zip-tied on the floor. Scarlett. Victor moved toward her, but she held up a hand. Don't. I'm not here for you. She looked at the 6 men scattered around the warehouse. I'm here to deliver a message from Salvatore Rossini. What you heard tonight about my activities stays in this room. Anyone who shares that information with law enforcement, with other families, or with anyone outside this building will be considered an enemy of Rossini's organization. And you all know what happens to those people. Silence. Then one of Victor's men, James from the penthouse, spoke up. We're loyal to Victor, not Rossini. Then be loyal by keeping your mouths shut. Because if any of you talk, it's not just me who suffers. It's Victor, too. His relationship with Rossini ends. His protection ends. Everything he's built becomes vulnerable. Scarlett's voice was ice. So here's what's going to happen. You're all going to forget what I said about the warehouse fire, about evidence collection, about everything. In exchange, Rossini provides proof that Daniel Chen is your leak, not me. Everyone wins. And if we don't agree, James asked, then by this time tomorrow, you're at war with the Morettis, the Chens, and probably 3 other families who will sense weakness. Your choice. She was channeling Rossini now, his calm delivery, his calculated threats, his absolute certainty that people would choose survival over principles. And she hated how natural it felt. Victor stepped between her and his men. Leave us, all of you. Take Daniel to the holding location. I'll deal with him later. They filed out, dragging Daniel with them. When the warehouse was empty except for Victor and Scarlett, he turned to her. You came back. Rossini sent me back. There's a difference. Scarlett, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you. But you did. The moment someone suggested I might be betraying you, you believed it. No hesitation, no benefit of the doubt, just immediate suspicion. She kept her distance, needing the space. Do you know what that feels like? To prove myself over and over, to change myself trying to survive in your world and still not be trusted? I was wrong. Being wrong isn't the problem. Not trusting me is the problem. Scarlett's voice cracked despite her best efforts. I've committed crimes for you. I've killed parts of myself to stay in your life. And the first time someone questions my loyalty, you point a gun at me. I didn't. You might as well have. The look on your face was the same. She backed toward the door. I need space. Time to think about whether this is sustainable. Don't do this. Do what? Protect myself? That's rich coming from you. She reached the exit. Rossini's sending you proof that Daniel's the leak. When you get it, you'll see I was telling the truth. Maybe that'll matter to you. Maybe it won't. Scarlett, please. I have 1 month left with Rossini. 1 month, then I'm free of that arrangement. What happens after that is up to you. She pulled open the door. You decide if you can actually trust me, if you can actually be with someone who's as damaged by this world as you are. And when you figure it out, you let me know. She left him standing in that empty warehouse, and this time when her phone buzzed with his calls, she didn't even look. The next 3 weeks were the longest of Scarlett's life. She went through the motions at Rossini's office, completing assignments that grew progressively darker. A witness who needed to disappear before trial, evidence that needed to be fabricated, meetings with people whose hands were so bloody she could practically smell it on them. And through it all, Victor called, texted, sent flowers, letters, messages through Maria and James and anyone else who might reach her. She ignored them all. "You're punishing him," Maria observed one afternoon, watching Scarlett delete another voicemail. "I'm protecting myself." Same thing, different words. Maria set down a fresh stack of files. For what it's worth, he sent Rossini proof that he was wrong about you. Security footage, phone records, everything showing you never leaked his information. Good for him, he still thought I did it. Because he's terrified of losing you the way he lost Angela. Fear makes people stupid. Maria leaned against the desk. "You think Rossini trusts me?" "He doesn't. He monitors my communications, has people follow me, probably has this office bugged. But I stay because I know the fear isn't personal. It's just how men like him survive." "That's not an excuse." "No. But it's an explanation." Maria straightened. "You've got 2 more weeks with us. Then you're free. Question is what you're going to do with that freedom." Scarlett didn't have an answer. The answer came for her on a Wednesday afternoon, week 11 of her term with Rossini. She was in his office, coordinating another evidence drop, when his phone rang. She watched his expression go from calm to dangerous in seconds. "When?" he asked. Then, "How many?" A pause. "Lock it down, I'm on my way." He hung up, looked at Scarlett. "We have a problem. The Morettis just hit one of my warehouses. 3 dead, building on fire, cargo gone." He grabbed his coat. "You're coming with me." "Why?" "Because Daniel Chen was supposed to be in that warehouse, and now he's missing, which means either he's dead or he escaped. Either way, we need to know which." The warehouse was in Jersey City, fully engulfed by the time they arrived. Fire trucks everywhere, police cordoning off the area. Rossini's men stood in a tight cluster, talking urgently. "Report," Rossini demanded. "Moretti's hit us 20 minutes ago. 4 vehicles, maybe 15 men. They knew exactly where the cargo was, exactly when the shift change happened. Someone gave them the layout." The man speaking was Paolo, who'd driven Scarlett to Queens that first night. "Daniel Chen was in the office when it started. We found blood, but no body. So he's either dead or captured." Rossini scanned the burning building. "Either way, this is a message. The Morettis are declaring war." "Over what?" Scarlett asked. "Over me using Carson Webb to prosecute them? Over the files you retrieved from their warehouse? Over every move I've made in the last 2 months." Rossini's expression was cold. "They've been planning this, waiting for the right moment to strike back, and they just announced that moment is now." An explosion rocked the building. Everyone ducked. When the smoke cleared, the entire west wall had collapsed. "Anyone still inside is dead," Paolo said. Rossini pulled out his phone, made a call. "Salvatore Rossini for Victor De Luca. I don't care if he's in a meeting, get him on the phone. Victor, we have a situation. The Morettis just declared war. I need you at the Newark facility in 1 hour. Bring your top people. Yes, she's with me. No, she's fine. Get here." He hung up, looked at Scarlett. "This is about to get very dangerous. If you want out, now's the time." "Will you let me out?" "Honestly?" "No, you know too much. If the Morettis grab you, they'll use you to get information about both of us." Rossini's voice was matter-of-fact. "So you're under protection until this is resolved. For your safety and ours. I'm a prisoner. You're an asset being secured. There's a difference." There really wasn't. But Scarlett didn't have time to argue because Paolo was ushering them toward an armored SUV, and suddenly they were moving, leaving the burning warehouse behind. The Newark facility turned out to be a compound. High walls, armed guards, buildings that looked like they could withstand a siege. Rossini led her into the main structure, through security that would make airports jealous, into a conference room where 20 men were already gathering. Victor arrived 10 minutes later with James and 5 others. His eyes found Scarlet immediately. You okay? He asked, crossing to her. Define okay. Not hurt, not in immediate danger. Then sure, I'm okay. She wanted to stay angry with him, wanted to maintain her distance, but seeing him after 3 weeks apart broke something loose in her chest. Victor, later. We'll talk later. Right now we need to survive this. He touched her face briefly, then turned to Rossini. What are we dealing with? Full assault. The Morettis are coming after both of us. You for delivering Marcus Chen to me. Me for using the evidence Miss Hayes collected to prosecute them. Rossini pulled up a map on the wall screen. They've already hit 3 of my locations. I'm guessing they'll hit 3 of yours by midnight. My operations are secure. So were mine. But they had inside information. Someone's been feeding them our layouts, our schedules, our vulnerabilities to... Rossini's eyes swept the room. Question is who? Daniel Chen, Victor said. He's been playing all of us. Was. Past tense. We found his body an hour ago. Moretti's dumped it in front of my office with a note saying, thanks for the intel. Rossini's expression was grim, which means either he told them everything before they killed him, or someone else is still talking. The room erupted in accusations and denials. Scarlet watched men who'd worked together for years turn on each other with suspicious eyes. This was how empires fell. Not from outside attacks, but from internal collapse. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Then something made her look. A photo loaded. Her mother's house in Newark. Her mother visible through the living room window, watching television, completely unaware she was being photographed. The message was clear. We know where she is. We can reach her any time. Scarlet's blood turned to ice. She grabbed Victor's arm, showed him the phone. His expression went deadly. Rossini, we have a problem. He showed him the photo. The room went quiet. They're targeting families now, Rossini said. That changes everything. I need to get my mother, Scarlet said. Right now, before they use her to force your cooperation. Yes. Rossini gestured to Paolo. Take 4 men. Get Mrs. Hayes and bring her here. Move fast. I'm going with them, Scarlet said. No, Victor started. Victor. Yes. That's my mother. I'm not sitting here while someone else gets her. Scarlet's voice was steel. I'm going. You can send guards with me or not, but I'm going. Victor looked at Rossini. Some silent communication passed between them. Fine, Rossini said. But you take 8 men, not 4. And you're back here in 90 minutes maximum. Deal. The drive to Newark was tense. Paolo drove while Scarlet called her mother, who answered on the 3rd ring. Scarlet, it's late, honey. Mom, I need you to listen very carefully. Pack a bag. Just essentials. You're coming to stay with me for a while. What? Why? I can't explain right now, but it's important. There are some people who might try to contact you, might try to use you to get to me. I need you somewhere safe. Scarlet, you're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry, but please just trust me. Pack a bag. We'll be there in 20 minutes. We? Friends. People who work with Victor. They're going to bring you somewhere safe until this is over. Her mother was quiet for a moment, then, what have you gotten yourself into? Something I'm trying to get out of. Please, Mom, just pack a bag. Okay. Okay, I'm packing. Scarlet hung up, fighting tears. Her mother shouldn't be part of this, shouldn't be dragged into a war between crime families because her daughter had fallen in love with the wrong man. They pulled up to her mother's house 15 minutes later. Lights on, curtains drawn. Everything looked normal, too normal. Something's wrong, Scarlet said. How do you know? Paolo asked. My mother always closes the curtains at night. Privacy thing, but they're open. She pointed. She wouldn't open them unless someone made her. Paolo swore, pulling out his gun. Everyone out, defensive positions. They exited the vehicle in a choreographed movement Scarlet had seen Victor's men perform before. Weapons drawn, eyes scanning for threats. Paolo gestured for 2 men to circle around back. Miss Hayes, stay in the... The front door opened. A man Scarlet didn't recognize stepped out, gun to her mother's head. Nobody move or the old lady dies. Everything stopped. 8 guns aimed at the man, his gun pressed against her mother's temple, her mother's eyes wide with terror. Let her go, Scarlet said, somehow keeping her voice steady. Not until we talk. You and me. Alone. The man smiled. I'm Vincent Moretti, and I think you have something I want. I don't have anything. Sure you do. Information, files, evidence, all the things you've been collecting for Rossini. Vincent pressed the gun harder against her mother's head. Here's the deal. You give me copies of everything, and I mean everything, or your mother dies. Then we come for you. Then we come for everyone you've ever cared about. Don't give him anything, Scarlett, her mother said, voice shaking but firm. Don't you dare. Vincent hit her. The sound echoed in the quiet street. Scarlett lurched forward, but Paulo grabbed her arm. Don't, he hissed. That's what he wants. I don't care what he wants. That's my mother. And shooting him gets her killed. Think. Vincent wiped blood from his knuckles. You have 5 seconds to decide, Miss Hayes. The files, or I put a bullet in her brain. 5, 4, 3. Okay, Scarlett shouted. Okay, I'll give you the files. Just let her go. Files first, then she goes free. How do I know you won't kill her anyway? You don't, but you definitely know I'll kill her now if you don't cooperate. Vincent smiled. So what's it gonna be? Scarlett's mind raced. The files were encrypted, backed up on servers only Rossini could access. She couldn't deliver them even if she wanted to, but if she told Vincent that, he'd kill her mother for sure. The files are at Rossini's office, she said. I need to go there to get them. Fine. You have 1 hour. Bring them back here, alone, or Mommy dies. Vincent started backing toward the house, dragging her mother with him. And Miss Hayes, I've got men watching Rossini's compound. If I see an army heading this way, she dies. If I see police, she dies. If you try anything clever, she dies. Understood? Understood. The door slammed. They were gone. Paulo was already on the phone. We have a hostage situation. Vincent Moretti has Mrs. Hayes. No, we can't storm it. He'll kill her. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 guys inside. Yes, I'll hold. Scarlett pulled out her phone, called Victor. The Morettis have my mother, she said when he answered. I need those files, all of them. Everything I've collected for Rossini. What? Why? Because that's the price for her life. 1 hour to deliver them, or Vincent Moretti kills her. Scarlett's voice broke. Please, Victor. I know it compromises everything. I know it's dangerous, but she's my mother. I can't let her die because of me. Silence. Then, I'll talk to Rossini. Stay on the line. She heard muffled conversation, heated discussion. Then Victor came back. Rossini says no. The files are too valuable. He won't trade them for one person. She's not just one person. She's my mother. I know, but Rossini doesn't care. Victor's voice was tight. Scarlett, I'm sorry, but he won't authorize it. Then I'll get them myself. You can't. The servers are locked. Only Rossini and Maria have access. Then I guess my mother dies. Scarlett ended the call. Her hands shook. This couldn't be happening. Her mother was in there with men who'd killed dozens of people, who wouldn't hesitate to execute her if Scarlett didn't deliver. And the files that could save her were locked behind authorization she didn't have. Paulo put his hand on her shoulder. We'll figure something out. How? Rossini won't give up the files. Vincent won't let her go without them. There's no play here. There's always a play. Paulo pulled out his phone, made a call. Maria, I need a favor, a big one. I know, but this is life or death. Rossini's servers, I need access codes. No, he won't approve it, because Mrs. Hayes is about to die and Scarlett's about to do something desperate to save her. I know the consequences. I'm willing to face them. He hung up. 30 seconds later, his phone buzzed with a text. Access codes, he said. We have 15 minutes before the system logs the breach and alerts Rossini. That's how long you have to download the files and get them to Vincent. Why are you doing this? Because I have a mother too, and I know what Rossini would say if someone had her. Paulo pulled up the car. Get in. We're going back to the compound. They made it back in 12 minutes. Scarlett ran through security, Paulo's codes getting her past systems that should have stopped her. Into Rossini's office, behind his desk, the servers hidden in the wall panel. The codes worked. The files appeared. Years of evidence, carefully collected. Everything that could destroy a dozen families. Everything that could destroy Victor and Rossini too, if it fell into the wrong hands. Scarlett started the download. 8 minutes. The bar crawled across the screen with agonizing slowness. The door opened. Maria stood there, expression unreadable. You know what you're doing is treason, she said. I know. Rossini will kill you for this. Probably, but my mother lives. Maria was quiet for a moment. Then she closed the door, locked it. Then you better download fast. I can buy you maybe 3 more minutes before security realizes I'm helping you. The download finished? Scarlett ejected the drive, pocketed it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Getting out is going to be harder than getting in. Maria led her through back corridors Scarlett hadn't known existed. Service hallways, maintenance tunnels, paths that avoided the main security checkpoints. They emerged in the parking garage where Paulo was waiting with the engine running. Go, Maria said. And Miss Hayes, after tonight, we're enemies. You understand that? I understand. Scarlett climbed into the car. They peeled out of the garage just as alarms started blaring. The drive back to Newark was silent. Scarlett clutched the drive in her hand, feeling its weight. She'd just stolen from Salvatore Rossini, betrayed the man who'd protected her, employed her, trusted her with his darkest secrets, to save her mother. Because at the end of the day, blood mattered more than loyalty to monsters. They pulled up to her mother's house. The street was empty. Too empty. I don't like this, Paulo said. Neither do I, but I don't have a choice. Scarlett opened the door. Wait, let me go first, he said alone. And I'm not letting you walk into a trap alone. We go together or not at all. They approached the house. The front door was still closed. No movement visible through windows. Paulo knocked. Once, twice. The door opened. Vincent Moretti stood there, alone. No gun, no hostages visible. Miss Hayes, you made good time. Where's my mother? Safe, for now. Vincent held out his hand. The drive. My mother first. The drive, or I call my men and they execute her. Your choice. Scarlett handed over the drive. Vincent smiled, pocketed it. Then he pulled out a gun and shot Paulo in the chest. Paulo went down hard. Scarlett screamed, dropped to her knees beside him, blood spreading across his shirt, his breathing ragged. Why? She demanded. Because Rossini needed to learn that taking from us has consequences. Vincent aimed his gun at Scarlett. And you needed to learn that trying to save people in this world just gets them killed faster. My mother is already dead, has been for 20 minutes. My men killed her the moment you left to get the drive. Vincent's smile was cruel. You really thought I'd let her live? After what you did to our family? Scarlett's world collapsed. Her mother was dead. Paulo was dying. And she'd handed over files that would destroy everyone she'd ever worked with. All for nothing. Any last words? Vincent asked. Just one. Scarlett met his eyes. Duck. Vincent's expression flickered with confusion. Then the window behind him exploded. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions. Vincent went down, his weapon skittering across the floor. Men poured into the house. Victor's men, Rossini's men, even some she didn't recognize. Victor was there suddenly, pulling her away from Paulo's body, checking her for injuries. Are you hurt? My mother is fine. She's at the compound. That wasn't her in the house. Victor's hands cupped her face. Scarlett, look at me. Your mother is alive. This was a trap. We figured it out 10 minutes after you left. But Vincent said, Vincent lied. That's what he does. Victor helped her to her feet. Maria called. Told us what you did. We got your mother out and set this up. Used one of our people as bait to draw Vincent out. The drive? Empty. Dummy files. We swapped it while you were in the car with Paulo. Victor pulled her against him. You really think we'd let you hand over actual evidence? Scarlett couldn't process it. Her mother was alive. The files were safe. But Paulo? She looked down. Medical personnel were working on him, loading him onto a stretcher. Is he... Vest, Paulo gasped, giving her a weak thumbs up. Hurts like hell, but I'll live. Relief and rage and confusion crashed over her in waves. This had all been orchestrated. Victor and Rossini had let her think she was sacrificing everything, let her steal the files, let her walk into danger, all to draw out Vincent Moretti. You used me, she said to Victor. We protected you. There's a difference. You let me think my mother was going to die, because we needed Vincent to believe it too. If you'd known it was a setup, he would have seen it. Victor's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry. But this was the only way to end the Moretti threat and keep you both safe. Scarlett pulled away from him. Where's Rossini? Inside, interrogating Vincent. She pushed past him into the house. Rossini stood over Vincent, who was zip-tied and bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds. Miss Hayes, Rossini greeted her. I'm glad you're safe. You let me think I was betraying you. You were. Technically. Rossini smiled. But Maria and I anticipated that possibility. We prepared for it. And now Vincent Moretti is about to tell us everything about his family's operations before he bleeds out. My mother is in the other room. Would you like to see her? Scarlett didn't answer, just pushed past him to the back of the house. Her mother sat in the kitchen, wrapped in a blanket, a cup of tea in her shaking hands. She looked up when Scarlett entered. Baby? She stood, and Scarlett crashed into her arms, finally letting the tears come. I thought you were dead, she sobbed. I know, I'm sorry. They wouldn't let me call you. Her mother held her tight. These people you're involved with, Scarlett, this world, it's going to destroy you. I know. Then why are you still in it? Scarlett pulled back, wiped her eyes. Because I made a promise. One more week with Rossini, then I'm done. Then Victor and I leave all of this behind. Can you leave? Really leave? Her mother touched her face. Or are you too deep to ever get out? I don't know, Scarlett admitted, but I have to try. Behind her, Victor appeared in the doorway. We need to move. The Morettis will retaliate once they realize Vincent's been captured. Your mother needs to stay at the compound until we've secured the situation. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. Victor's eyes met hers. I'm sorry, I know this isn't what you wanted. Nothing about this is what I wanted. Scarlett turned back to her mother. Go with them. Stay safe. I'll explain everything when this is over. Promise me something, her mother said. What? Promise me you'll actually get out. That this isn't just words. Her eyes filled with tears. I've already buried your father. I can't bury you too. I promise, Scarlett said, hoping it was true. Her mother was escorted out by Rossini's men. Victor waited until they were gone before speaking. Are we okay? He asked quietly. I don't know. Ask me when I'm not processing the fact that you let me think my mother was being executed to catch a criminal. Scarlett's voice was hollow. Right now, I can't think straight enough to be angry or grateful or anything else. Fair enough. He didn't touch her, respected the distance. For what it's worth, I hated every second of it, letting you think the worst, watching you make that choice. But it worked. Vincent's in custody, the Morettis are finished, and you're safe. Until the next crisis. The next war. The next time someone decides I'm useful leverage. She met his eyes. I can't do this anymore, Victor. This world, these games, I'm done. One more week, that's all Rossini has left. Then we're both done. Can you actually walk away? Or will there always be one more deal, one more crisis, one more reason to stay? Victor was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, but I want to find out. With you. It wasn't a promise, but it was honest. And right now, honesty was all Scarlett had the strength to ask for. One more week, she said. Then we figure out if there's an us outside of all this. Deal? Deal. They left her mother's house together, stepping over Vincent Moretti's unconscious body, past the blood and the broken glass and all the evidence of a life Scarlett was desperate to leave behind. One more week, 7 days. Then freedom, or whatever passed for it, in a world where love and violence were so tangled together she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. 7 days to find out if she and Victor could be something other than survivors in a war they hadn't chosen. 7 days to discover whether the woman who'd accidentally sent a photo 4 months ago still existed, or if she'd been completely consumed by the fire she'd walked into. Only time would tell. And time, Scarlett was learning, was the cruelest dealer of all. The last week of Scarlett's term with Rossini should have been quiet. A countdown to freedom, a slow exhale after months of holding her breath. Instead, it exploded on day 3. She was in Rossini's office, filing reports on the Moretti takedown, when Maria burst through the door without knocking. Maria never burst anywhere. We have a problem, she said, breathless. Carson Webb just got arrested. FBI, federal corruption charges. Rossini looked up from his desk, expression unreadable. When? 20 minutes ago, walked out of his office in handcuffs. His entire staff is being questioned. Maria's eyes flicked to Scarlett. They're asking about coordination with your office, about evidence collection procedures, about who had access to prosecution files. The implications hit Scarlett like a freight train. If Webb was compromised, every case he'd prosecuted using evidence she'd collected would be scrutinized. Every file she'd stolen, every warehouse she'd raided, every coordination meeting she'd attended would be examined under a federal microscope, and her name was all over it. "How bad is this?" she asked. "Career ending for Webb, potentially prison time for everyone involved in his evidence collection process." Rossini stood, buttoned his jacket. "Which includes you, Miss Hayes. I was following your orders." "Which won't matter to federal prosecutors. You participated in evidence tampering, illegal searches, conspiracy to obstruct justice. The fact that you were doing it for me doesn't grant immunity." Rossini's voice was clinical. "You're exposed, completely." "So what do we do?" "We? Nothing. You disappear. Today. Right now." Rossini pulled out his phone, made a call. "I need a relocation package. Full identity, overseas preferably. Yes, immediate. The Hayes situation." He hung up. "You have 2 hours to say goodbye to your mother and Victor. Then you're on a plane to Prague. New name, new life, new everything." "I'm not running." "You don't have a choice. The FBI will connect you to Webb within 48 hours. When they do, they'll arrest you. And I can't protect you from federal charges without exposing my own operations." Rossini met her eyes. "This is the price, Miss Hayes. You knew it might come to this." "Did I? Because I remember you promising that working for you would secure my future, not destroy it. I promised you protection within my world. But you stepped into a federal investigation the moment you started handling Webb's evidence. That's outside my jurisdiction." Rossini's expression softened slightly. "I'm sorry, but this is the reality. You run or you go to prison for the next 20 years. Scarlett's mind raced. Prague. New identity. Never seeing her mother again, never seeing Victor again, never being herself again. Or prison, orange jumpsuit, concrete walls, watching her life disappear behind bars. There has to be another option. There isn't. Maria stepped forward, handed her a folder. "These are your new documents: passport, driver's license, bank accounts. You're Catherine Morrison now, American expat, working in digital marketing. The story is airtight. I can't just leave." "You can and you will." Rossini's voice hardened. "Because if you stay and the FBI flips you, if they offer you a deal to testify against me, I can't let you take that deal. You understand what I'm saying?" The threat was clear. Run or die. Those were the only options Rossini would allow. "I need to talk to Victor." "You have 90 minutes. Then my people are putting you on that plane whether you're ready or not." Rossini turned back to his desk, dismissing her. "Maria will drive you." The ride to Victor's office was silent. Scarlett stared out the window at Manhattan sliding past, trying to memorize it. The buildings, the people, the chaotic energy that had become home over the last 4 months. All of it about to disappear. Victor was in a meeting when she arrived. She didn't care. She walked right into the conference room, past his shocked corporate assistant, past the 3 clients who stared at her interruption. "I need to talk to you, now." Victor took one look at her face and stood. "Gentlemen, we'll have to continue this later. Emergency." He ushered her to his office, closed the door. "What happened?" "Carson Webb got arrested. FBI. They're going to trace his evidence back to me. Rossini says I have to run. New identity, new country, new life. I have 90 minutes to say goodbye." Victor's expression went deadly calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "No." "No? You're not running. We'll fight this. Get you a lawyer, negotiate with the FBI, find a way through that doesn't involve you disappearing. Rossini says there's no other option." "Rossini's wrong." Victor pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my attorney. She specializes in federal cases. If anyone can navigate this—" "Victor, stop." Scarlett put her hand over his phone. "There's no time. And even if we fight, even if we win, it'll take years, years of trials and testimony and living under federal scrutiny, years of my mother being questioned, of you being investigated because of your association with me, years of everything we've built being picked apart. So what, you just give up? Disappear and let them win?" "I let myself survive. There's a difference." She took a shaky breath. Rossini's right. I participated in evidence tampering. I helped prosecute families using illegally obtained files. I committed federal crimes, and I did it knowing the risks. You did it because he forced you. Did he? Or did I do it because it was easier than saying no? Because some part of me liked the power, liked being important, liked mattering in a world that usually ignores people like me? Scarlett's voice cracked. I made choices, Victor. Bad ones. And now I'm paying the price. Then we pay it together. I'll come with you. To Prague? And do what? You can't run your empire from Eastern Europe, and you can't walk away from everything you've built just because I made mistakes. Watch me. Victor grabbed her shoulders. Scarlett, I've spent 15 years building this empire, and I would burn every bit of it to the ground before I let you disappear from my life. So if you're going to Prague, I'm going with you. We'll start over. Together. Your mother's memory, your father's legacy, everything you fought for, means nothing without you. His eyes were fierce. You think I don't know what matters anymore? It's not power or territory or respect. It's you. It's always been you since that damn photo 4 months ago. Scarlett wanted to believe him, wanted to imagine them starting over in some European city, building something new and clean and untouched by the violence that had defined their relationship. But she knew better. You'd resent me eventually, for making you give it all up, for costing you everything you worked for. Maybe. Or maybe I'd thank you for giving me permission to finally stop. Victor's hands cupped her face. I'm tired, Scarlett. Tired of the violence, the paranoia, the constant calculation of who to trust and who to destroy. I've been doing this since I was 23. Maybe it's time to stop. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. He kissed her forehead. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to tell Rossini that we're both taking his relocation package, you and me, new identities, new life. And then we're going to figure out who we are when we're not just trying to survive. And my mother comes with us if she wants, or stays here with enough security and money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. Her choice. Victor's voice was steady. But you and I, we're done with this world. Starting today. Scarlett stared at him, searching for doubt, for hesitation. She found none. You're serious? Completely. Rossini will never allow it. You know too much. You're too valuable. He'll stop you from leaving. Then he'll have to kill me because I'm not letting you go alone. Victor pulled out his phone, called Rossini. Salvatore, change of plans. I'm going with her. I'm aware of the complications. Then find a solution that doesn't involve Scarlett disappearing from my life. No, that's not a request. That's how this is happening. He hung up. That went well, Scarlett said weakly. He'll come around. He needs me more than I need him. Victor grabbed his coat. Come on, let's go tell your mother she's about to become an international fugitive. They made it to the compound in 40 minutes. Scarlett's mother was in the same room where they'd left her, looking smaller and more fragile than Scarlett remembered. She stood when they entered. What's wrong? You look like someone died. No one died, but we need to talk. Scarlett sat beside her, took her hands. The prosecutor I've been working with got arrested. Federal corruption charges. Which means I'm about to be arrested too for helping him. So I have to leave. New identity, new country, tonight. Her mother's face went pale. Leave? For how long? Forever. Or until the statute of limitations runs out. 20 years, maybe. 20 years. Her mother's voice was barely a whisper. I won't see you for 20 years? Unless you come with us. Victor and I are both leaving. Going to Prague. Starting over. You can come if you want. New identity, new life. Or you can stay here. Victor will make sure you're protected and provided for. Either way, you're safe. Safe? Her mother laughed, bitter and sharp. You think I care about safe? My daughter is about to disappear from my life, and you're offering me safety? Mom, do you know what it's like? Her mother pulled her hands away, stood. Watching your child walk into danger over and over, knowing you can't stop them? I did that with your father, watched him go to those docks every day knowing they were killing him, and I couldn't make him stop because we needed the money. We needed to survive. This is different. Is it? Because it looks the same to me. You chose this world, this danger, and now you're asking me to choose between losing you or losing everything else I know. I'm sorry. Scarlett's throat tightened. I'm so sorry, but I don't have another option. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to Victor. You promised to take care of her? Really take care of her, not just protect her from the next crisis? I promise, Victor said. And if I come with you, what happens to my life here? My friends, my sister, everything I've built since your father died? It disappears, just like ours does. Victor's voice was gentle. I won't lie to you, Mrs. Hayes. This isn't a small thing we're asking. It's everything. But it's also the only way we all survive intact. Scarlett's mother looked at her daughter, really looked, in the way only a mother can. You love him? Yes. Enough to give up everything? I already gave up everything. The girl I was 4 months ago is gone. This is just making it official. Then I'm coming with you. Her mother's voice was firm. Because I already lost your father to this kind of life. I'm not losing you too, even if it means losing everything else. Scarlett broke. She pulled her mother into her arms and sobbed like she was 5 years old again, like her mother could fix everything with a hug and a kiss. And her mother held her, stroked her hair, whispered that it would be okay, even though none of them believed it. When Scarlett finally pulled away, Victor was on the phone again. 3 packages, tonight. Yes, I'm sure. No, Salvatore, this isn't negotiable. Either we all go or none of us do. Then we'll have a problem, won't we? He hung up. It's arranged. 3 identities, flight leaves in 4 hours. What about your business? Scarlett asked. Your operations? James is taking over. I've been grooming him for years. He can handle it. Victor's expression was carefully neutral. It'll be messy for a while. Power struggles, territorial disputes. But he's smart. He'll survive. And Rossini? Will be furious, but he'll adapt. He always does. Victor checked his watch. We need to move. Pack only what you can carry. Everything else gets left behind. The next 3 hours were a blur. Scarlett packed a single bag with clothes and the few photos she couldn't bear to leave. Her mother did the same, moving through her room at the compound with quiet efficiency. Victor made calls, arranged transfers, set up the infrastructure for James to take control. At the airport, they met Maria one last time. She handed Victor 3 passports. Catherine Morrison, Thomas Morrison, Helen Morrison. Mother, daughter, son-in-law. You're relocating to Prague for Thomas's consulting work. She looked at Scarlett. You did good work, Miss Hayes. Better than most people could have done in your position. I helped prosecute innocent people, destroyed families, burned buildings. You survived. That's more than most manage in Rossini's world. Maria handed her an envelope. From the boss. Don't open it until you land. What is it? Insurance. In case you need leverage someday. Maria's smile was thin. Rossini takes care of his people, even the ones who leave. They boarded the plane. First class, private seats, champagne. Scarlett couldn't drink because her stomach was in knots. Her mother sat across the aisle, staring out the window at a city she'd never see again. Victor sat beside Scarlett, his hand finding hers. Last chance to change your mind, he said quietly. We can still walk off this plane. And go where? Back to federal charges and gang wars and constantly looking over our shoulders? Scarlett shook her head. No, this is right. Terrifying, but right. For what it's worth, I'm terrified too. Good. At least we're terrified together. The plane taxied, lifted. Manhattan disappeared beneath clouds, and Scarlett felt something inside her break and reforming simultaneously. The girl who'd accidentally sent a photo to her boss was gone. The woman who'd survived kidnapping and arson and federal exposure was disappearing. What was left was someone new. Someone she'd have to discover in a foreign city with a man she loved and a mother who'd sacrificed everything to stay by her side. Halfway across the Atlantic, Scarlett opened Maria's envelope. Inside was a single flash drive and a note in Rossini's handwriting. Insurance, as promised. These files contain evidence of everyone who participated in Webb's schemes, including several judges and federal prosecutors. If anyone comes after you, release them. It'll create enough chaos that you'll be the least interesting target. Use wisely. You earned it. Scarlett showed it to Victor. He smiled grimly. Rossini's last gift. Evidence that could destroy half the legal system in New York. Should we use it? Only if we have to, but it's good to know it exists. He tucked the drive into his jacket pocket. Mutually assured destruction, our insurance policy. Is this what freedom looks like? Still carrying weapons? Still prepared for war? No, this is what survival looks like. Victor's hand found hers again. Freedom is what we build in Prague, after we've put enough distance between us and the past that we can finally breathe. They landed in Prague at dawn. The city was beautiful in the early light, all Gothic spires and bridges over the Vltava River. Their apartment was in Vinority, a neighborhood that felt residential and alive. 3 bedrooms, high ceilings, windows that overlooked a park where children played. It was nothing like Manhattan. It was perfect. The first week was strange. Scarlett's mother enrolled in a Czech language class, determined to make the most of her new life. Victor set up consulting work that was actually legitimate, advising businesses on security and operations without the criminal underpinnings. And Scarlett found herself with nothing to do for the first time in months. No meetings, no evidence to collect, no fires to set or families to destroy. Just hours that stretched empty and terrifying in their normalcy. I don't know who I am anymore, she told Victor one night. They were on their balcony, watching the city lights. Without the danger, without the constant threat. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with myself. Neither do I, Victor admitted. I've been Victor DeLuca, crime boss, for so long that I don't know how to be Thomas Morrison, legitimate consultant. It's like wearing someone else's skin. Do you regret it? Leaving? He was quiet for a long moment. I miss it sometimes. The power, the respect, the feeling of controlling something. But then I look at you, safe and free, and I remember why we left, and the missing gets smaller. What if it doesn't? What if we spend the rest of our lives missing who we used to be? Then we miss together, and maybe eventually we'll build something new that we don't want to miss. Victor pulled her close. We have time, Scarlett. For the first time in either of our lives, we have actual time. No deadlines, no crises, no one trying to kill us. Just time to figure out who we are without the violence. 2 months into their new life, Scarlett found a teaching job. English as a second language at a private school. The pay was nothing compared to what she'd made with Victor and Rossini, but the work was honest. She taught business people and students and retirees who wanted to improve their language skills. And slowly, she started to remember what it felt like to do something that didn't carry the weight of federal crimes. Her mother thrived. She made friends in her language class, started volunteering at a community center, even began dating a widower she met at a coffee shop. Watching her mother bloom into this new life was revelation. She'd spent so many years being the grieving widow, the struggling parent, the woman who'd lost everything. Now she was just Helen, figuring out what she wanted instead of what she needed to survive. Victor struggled more. He'd built his entire identity around power and control. Without it, he seemed lost. He threw himself into work, into learning Czech, into renovating their apartment. Anything to avoid sitting still with who he was now. You're running again, Scarlett told him one evening. Different city, same pattern. I don't know how to stop. Then let me help you. She took his hands. Victor, we left so we could be different people, but you're still trying to be the same person in a different location. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? I don't know, but maybe we figure it out together. Maybe we stop trying to be who we were and just start being who we are now. And who are we now? 2 people who love each other, who survived something terrible, who are trying to build something good. Scarlett's voice was soft. That's enough. It has to be enough. Something shifted in his expression. What if it's not enough for you? What if you wake up one day and realize you gave up too much to be with me? What if you wake up one day and realize the same thing? Then we'll deal with it together, like we deal with everything else. Victor pulled her into his lap. I love you. That hasn't changed. Everything else can change, but that won't. Promise? Promise. 6 months after they arrived in Prague, Scarlett's phone rang with a New York number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Miss Hayes, or should I say Catherine Morrison. The voice was familiar. James, Victor's former second-in-command. How did you get this number? Victor left it with me. Emergency contact only. This qualifies. James paused. Carson Webb took a deal. He's testifying against everyone involved in his evidence collection scheme. Your name came up. Scarlett's blood went cold. How bad? Federal prosecutors issued a warrant. They're looking for Scarlett Hayes in connection with evidence tampering, conspiracy, and about 15 other charges. But here's the interesting part. They have no idea where you are. No leads, no traces, nothing. It's like you vanished. That was the point. Right. But Webb's testimony is specific. He's naming you, describing your involvement, providing dates and locations. If you ever surface in the States again, you'll be arrested immediately. So I'm in exile forever. Effectively, yes. Unless you want to use Rossini's insurance policy. James sounded careful. I know about the drive. Victor told me before he left. If you release those files, Webb's testimony becomes irrelevant. Too much chaos, too many bigger targets. You'd be forgotten in the noise. And destroy half the legal system in the process. It's an option. Scarlett looked out of the window at the Prague street below. Children playing, people living normal lives, no one worried about federal warrants or evidence tampering. This was her life now, safe and small and honest. Tell the prosecutors they can keep looking. Scarlett Hayes is gone. She doesn't exist anymore. She paused. And James? Tell Rossini I'm keeping his insurance policy, just in case, but I won't use it unless I have to. Understood. For what it's worth, you made the right call. Leaving, I mean. This world got uglier after you and Victor left. It was already ugly. We just stopped pretending it wasn't. She hung up. Victor emerged from the bedroom, clearly having heard her half of the conversation. They're still looking for you. They are. But they won't find me. Scarlett Hayes is dead. I'm Catherine Morrison now. English teacher, expat, woman with a boring life. She smiled. I think I like her better than who I used to be. Even though she can never go home, this is home now. With you. With my mom. With a life that doesn't require looking over my shoulder every second. Scarlett moved into his arms. I don't miss New York. I miss who I thought I was before all this started. But that girl is gone. And I'm okay with that. Are you really? Most days. Some days I wake up and wonder what happened to the woman who survived kidnapping and arson and gang wars. But then I remember she survived so I could become this. Someone quieter, someone safer, someone who gets to just exist without constantly fighting. She looked up at him. Do you miss it? Really miss it? Victor considered this. I miss the certainty. Knowing my place, knowing the rules, knowing how to win. But I don't miss the cost. The violence, the paranoia, the constant calculation of who to trust. So no, I don't miss it enough to go back. Good, because I need you here. In this life, not the old one. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. They stood together in their Prague apartment, two people who'd burned down their old lives to build something new. It wasn't perfect. Some days were harder than others. Some nights Victor woke up from nightmares about Angela or Rossini or the empire he'd abandoned. Some mornings Scarlett caught herself checking the news for mentions of arson or evidence tampering, wondering if her past would ever really let her go. But slowly, day by day, they became Catherine and Thomas Morrison, people with normal jobs and normal problems and normal lives. They went to cafes and farmers markets. They learned Czech. They made friends who knew nothing about crime families or federal investigations. They built something that felt, if not entirely clean, at least cleaner than what they'd left behind. A year after they arrived, Scarlett's mother got married. A small ceremony in a Prague courthouse. Just the three of them and her new husband, Pavel. Watching her mother smile like that, genuine and unguarded, made everything worth it. All the running, all the loss, all the fear. Her mother got a second chance at happiness. That alone justified the cost. 2 years after they arrived, Victor proposed. Not with a diamond in a restaurant like some grand romantic gesture, just a quiet question on their balcony one evening, watching the sun set over the city. Marry me. Not because we're running or hiding or trying to build cover identities, but because I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life, and I want it to be official. That's the least romantic proposal I've ever heard. I'm out of practice. Say yes anyway. Yes, they got married in the same courthouse where her mother had. Small and quiet and perfect. And when the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Scarlett thought about the photo that started everything. That accidental message that had changed both their lives so completely. She'd sent it thinking it was a mistake. An embarrassing slip that would cost her job at worst. Instead, it had cost her everything she'd known and given her everything she hadn't known she needed. 3 years after they arrived, James called again. "Rossini's dead," he said without preamble. "Heart attack. Died in his sleep last week." Scarlett felt something she couldn't name. Not quite grief, not quite relief. "How's Maria?" "Managing things. The operation's fractured without him. 3 different factions fighting for control. It's getting messy." "And you?" "I'm out. Sold my interest to the highest bidder and relocated to Miami. Turns out I'm tired of New York too." James laughed quietly. "You and Victor had the right idea. Getting out while we still could. It's not easy. Neither is staying. But at least this way we get to decide who we become instead of letting the life decide for us." He paused. "Carson Webb died in prison, by the way. Shanked in the cafeteria. Someone decided he talked too much." "Did they find the person who did it? Does it matter?" "Webb's gone. His testimony is archived, but no one cares anymore. The cases got dismissed, the evidence got suppressed, everyone moved on." James's voice softened. "Which means Scarlett Hayes' warrant is effectively dead. No one's looking for her anymore. You could come back if you wanted." "I don't want." The answer came immediately, without thought. "This is home now." "Good. That's the right answer." James said goodbye and hung up. That night, Scarlett told Victor about the call, about Rossini's death, Webb's murder, the fact that they could go back to New York if they chose. "Do you want to?" he asked. "No, not even a little bit." She curled into his side on their couch. "Everything I need is here. You, my mom, a life that doesn't require constant survival. Why would I give that up?" "Because part of you might miss it. The intensity, the importance, the feeling of mattering in a big way. I matter here. To my students, to my mom, to you. That's enough." She looked up at him. "Is it enough for you?" "More than enough." He kissed her forehead. "I spent 15 years trying to build an empire. Turns out all I really needed was this. You, a quiet life, the freedom to be nobody important. We're important to each other. That counts. It's the only thing that counts." 5 years after they arrived in Prague, Scarlett's mother passed away in her sleep, peacefully, surrounded by photos of her life in Czech Republic. Pavel was devastated. Scarlett and Victor helped him plan the funeral, navigated the grief, supported him through the aftermath. At the funeral, Scarlett realized something. Her mother had gotten 7 years of genuine happiness before she died. 7 years of love and friendship and purpose that had nothing to do with survival or sacrifice. 7 years of just being Helen, not the widow or the immigrant or the mother who'd lost everything. That was the gift Scarlett had given her by running. Not just safety, but the space to rediscover joy. Standing at her mother's grave, Victor's hand in hers, Scarlett thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. An accidental photo, a dangerous attraction, kidnapping and arson and federal crimes, war and betrayal and choosing each other over everything else they'd known. And she realized she wouldn't change any of it, because all of it, every terrifying moment, had led to this, to a life where she and Victor could grieve together, love together, exist together without constantly fighting for survival. She was happy, Victor said quietly. In the end, that matters. It's the only thing that matters. Scarlett leaned into him. We gave her that. We gave ourselves that. A chance to be happy instead of just surviving. Do you think we succeeded? Look around. We're still here, still together, still choosing each other every day. That's not just survival. That's actually living. Then I guess we won after all. Not won. Just survive long enough to find out what comes after the fight. She turned to face him. And this is better than winning ever could have been. They left the cemetery hand in hand, two people who'd destroyed their old lives to build something new. It wasn't the fairy tale people imagined when they thought about love and redemption. It was messier than that, complicated by guilt and trauma and the ghosts of who they'd been. But it was real, and it was theirs, and that made it more valuable than any empire Victor had ever built, or any power Scarlett had ever wielded. 10 years after that accidental photo, Scarlett stood in her classroom in Prague, teaching English to a group of business students. She was 46 now. Graying at the temples, lines around her eyes from laughter more than stress. Victor waited for her outside, reading a book on a bench, comfortable in his own aging. They'd built a life. Not perfect, not without scars, but fundamentally good. They volunteered at the community center her mother had loved. They traveled when they could. They had friends and routines and inside jokes. They had normal. And sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep, Scarlett would look at that old photo on her phone, the one in the red dress, head thrown back, genuinely happy. The photo that had accidentally changed everything. She didn't regret sending it. Not anymore. Because it had cost her everything she'd known and given her everything she'd never known she needed. A chance to be seen, a chance to be loved, a chance to survive something terrible and come out the other side still capable of joy. That night, Victor found her looking at the photo. "Still thinking about that night?" he asked. "Sometimes. Wondering what would have happened if I hadn't sent it, if we'd stayed in our separate lanes forever. We'd both still be in New York, probably dead by now, honestly. The life doesn't let you retire peacefully. So the photo saved us. The photo started us. We saved ourselves by choosing each other over everything else." He pulled her close. "Best accident either of us ever made." "It wasn't an accident," Scarlett admitted. "Not entirely." Victor pulled back to look at her. "What?" "I knew what I was doing. Not consciously, maybe. But somewhere inside, I wanted you to see me. Really see me. Not just the professional assistant. The actual person." She smiled. "So I sent it, and told myself it was an accident so I wouldn't have to own the wanting." "You're telling me this 10 years later?" "Took me this long to admit it to myself." She touched his face. "I chose you from the beginning, even when it was dangerous, even when it cost everything. I chose you. And I chose you back. Every time. Every crisis." Victor kissed her. "So maybe it wasn't fate or accidents or any of that. Maybe it was just two people choosing each other despite every rational reason not to. Is that the lesson? That love is just choosing someone and keeping choosing them?" "I think the lesson is that surviving isn't enough. You have to decide what you're surviving for. And we decided we were surviving for each other." He rested his forehead against hers. Everything else was just details. They stood together in their Prague apartment, two people who'd burned down empires and walked through fire to get to this moment. This quiet, ordinary moment where they could just be together without fear or calculation or constant threat. And Scarlett realized that was the real ending. Not a dramatic resolution or a final victory. Just two damaged people choosing each other, day after day, until the choosing became so natural they couldn't imagine doing anything else. The photo had been the beginning. The running had been the middle. But this quiet choosing, this deliberate loving, this survival that had transformed into actual living, this was the ending they'd earned. Not perfect, never perfect, but real and honest in theirs. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. Not the empire they'd left or the crimes they'd committed or the people they'd been, just who they'd become together in the quiet after the storm. Two people who'd survived long enough to learn that love wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic sacrifices. It was about choosing each other when it was hard, trusting each other when it was terrifying, building something new when everything old had burned to ash. They'd done that. Against all odds, despite every reason it shouldn't have worked, they'd done it. And that, Scarlett thought, as she fell asleep in Victor's arms that night, was the real fairy tale. Not the princess rescued from danger, but two people rescuing each other from becoming the kind of people who couldn't love at all. The photo had changed everything, but they'd changed themselves. And that made all the difference.